from Citi Field in New York. It's the New York Mets playing host to the Baltimore Orioles. The Mets go for the sweep tonight. Well, it's the first hot days of summer, and the Mets, boy, they've been streaky. Get swept, sweep, get swept, trying to sweep, but temperatures nearing triple digits today. And once again, the Mets relying on pitching that baseball to get them a victory. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the broadcast. Alongside Keith Hernandez and Ron Darling, I'm Kevin Burkhardt. So you look at this Mets team, boy, it's been some run for them. They've been streaky cold, streaky hot, now looking to take down the Orioles in a sweep. And, Ron, when you look at what's really been behind this, pitching, and notably the top two in their rotation, Johan Santana, R.A. Dickey, they've pitched nothing but zero so far this series.
You know, Kevin, what's really nice to see is that they are in the back of every papers. They should be in a cover of every book coming out, every magazine coming out, because they give instant credibility to this Met team. Every time they're out there, not only do they bring credibility, but they also bring great performance. 20-8, you can see what happens when the other guys are on the mound. And you know what's nice with Dylan G going tonight? It gives a young guy a chance to really aspire to meet those expectations that both Dickey and Santana have for themselves.
So we'll see if G can be up to task tonight. Meanwhile, Keith, from the position and player aspect, when you go out there and 2 out of 5 times on the mound, you have what Dickey and Santana are giving you. What does that do for you, the player?
Well, from an offensive standpoint, it takes all the pressure off of the lineup. You realize you go out there and go, hey, we scored 2 runs, we're going to win. You know, so I played on teams in St. Louis early in my career where we had a lot of hitting and not good starting pitching, and 5-6 runs wasn't enough. You always had day in, day out the pressure to keep hitting, and that amount of runs that day, they had to get more. I played in the 80s team with this bunch over here, Ronnie, and then you had 5 guys where it just took complete pressure off the lineup, and it makes a big difference, as you can see in those numbers.
Ronnie, you talked about Dylan G, who'll get the start tonight. 6 straight quality starts, but the Mets aren't really taking advantage of that.
You know what? Terry Collins, though, has been very happy. He says that he's pitching better than he was last year at this time when he was winning every game because they were scoring him lots of runs. So he really is doing a fine job. And Brian Mattis, who really struggled coming out of the gate, struggled last year in his last 10 starts, brought it into this season, but now has been much better, 5-4, you see, in his last 10 starts.
And the Mets haven't fared well against lefties this year. See if they can turn that around here tonight at Citi Field. Sun is blazing. Mets going for the sweep. G and Mattis, the pitchers. First pitch when we come back. Is brought to you by Geico, by AT&T, Rethink Possible, by Lexus, by New York State, discover what you love, plan your vacation now, and by Acura Advance. Hitting the road, take the Mets with you this season. Subscribe to MLB.tv today. See every Mets out-of-market game live online and on your favorite devices in HD quality. Visit Mets.com to order and get more details. MLB.tv, baseball everywhere. Take a look at the Mazda drive around the majors. Afternoon baseball today. 4 home runs for the Brewers, including number 20 for Ryan Braun and their 8-3 win over the Jays. How about 9 home runs in the Bronx? The Braves hit 5 of them. Jason Hayward had 2 of them. Braves take 2 of 3 from the Red Hot Yanks. And the Diamondbacks 6 home runs in a 14-10 victory over the Mariners. Dylan G making the walk-in on the steamy night at City. Mets go for the sweep of the Birds next. For the Orioles, they haven't scored a run yet this series on 6 hits, so they're looking to get something going there. Matt Wieters had a nice game last night, couple of doubles in there again for the Birds against Dylan G.
Well, Dylan G, 8 of his last 10 starts, he's gone 6 innings or more, and he's become a real workhorse. Last year was pitching well, and his record was great, but he's pitching even better this year, just not scoring any runs. His 46th start in the major leagues, 19-13 on his career.
And the Lexus Metsy defense. Valdespin, hey, how he's in the lineup at second base. He has just been on a little bit of a tear. 7 for his last 17. Hitting in that second spot, he has sparked this club. He has not only driven in runs, he's been in the middle of innings, so he's earned himself his 3rd start. 9th of the season, 3rd start, second base, that is.
And the Orioles, we talked about the Mets being streaky. You hear the Orioles, they come in, they shut out the Braves twice to end their series, and they come here and get skunked 2 games in a row. In fact, they haven't scored in 21 innings now, dating back to that series against the Braves.
You know what's interesting, Keith, watching these games is that a lot of these teams that come in with a reputation of having these great lineups and powerful lineups have not showed me too much.
I've not seen the best team you can see right there. There's the home run run game right there. The Yankees have lost 2 in a row now after that winning 10 in a row. I haven't seen a great lineup. I think the best lineup I've seen so far, and we haven't seen Texas or Los Angeles, has been the Yankees.
I'd agree. Certainly the Rangers, they're good. To see the Dodgers on the next road trip, Keith, so get a chance to go over and see that as G is set to make his 14th start of the season. Brian Roberts, switch hitter. Second baseman will lead it off tonight. And the first pitch is upstairs for ball 1. Roberts gets a foul tip on it. Roberts, we talked about it, just 7 games back this year at 241 with 4 RBIs. This is a guy that missed 13 months of baseball after sustaining a couple of concussions. The first of which he gave himself after a strikeout, which he hit himself on the head after missing a pitch. And then the second one came last year, and just an awful 13 months for him, but back and healthy. And a good player when healthy. 2-1 by G's upstairs, 3-1.
Well, he's such an igniter. He had 2 seasons in a row where he had 51, then 56 doubles out of that leadoff spot. So a real feisty player, good defensive player, and a leader.
And the count goes full against Roberts.
Ron, you're talking about the lineups and how we expect something and we never see it. And this is a team with 89 home runs, the Orioles. They're 3rd in the American League. And the general managers can tend to build their clubs and tailor their clubs around the ballparks they play in.
And G gets Roberts. 1 batter and a strikeout for Dylan G, and there's 1 down here in the first.
Well, this is something when Dylan G first came up, guys, that he used to use all the time, that fastball up in the strike zone. You see the release with that 4-seamer coming out, and that ball's going to stay true, not sink like his 2-seamer, and swung through there by Roberts.
I'll bring up the shortstop, J.J. Hardy. Hardy's 1 for 8 this series. He's struggling, though. 2 for 20 on the road trip, and he takes a fastball for a strike. And you talk about strikeouts with Dylan G. This year, his strikeouts are up, and his walks are down, and by a sizable amount. As the 0-1. This one tapped to left center. And Torres makes the play, and there's 2 down.
Well, you were hoping that maturation would happen, Kevin, because we're talking about Dylan G. I know it's AAA, but he did lead all of AAA in strikeouts that 1 year, and now 3-1 strikeouts to walks this season.
You look at the numbers there, that's a big difference. Yeah. I mean, that's a sizable difference for Dylan G. And he's got 2 outs with the bases empty here in the first for Chris Davis, who's normally the Orioles' designated hitter, playing right field in interleague play. And he's another Oriole that has been in a big-time slump. He's 0 for 14 on this road trip. Does have 12 home runs on the year.
And just to finish my point I was going to make is that this is a home run hitting club, and you know what? This ballpark's too big for this lineup. They haven't hit home runs, and they would have a hard time hitting the 89 home runs. They played 81 games here.
Ike Davis will take it himself. 1-2-3 inning for Dylan G. Mets come up to bat against Brian Mattis next. Up for the Mets tonight, facing the lefty Brian Mattis. So because of that, Terry Collins trying to get the righties in there. Torres hits much better from the right side, and then Hairston, who destroys left-handers, in there tonight for the Mets.
Well, Brian Mattis is a young man that was rushed through the minor leagues, only had 177 innings in the minor leagues, and in 2010 had a fantastic year, 10-12, but has struggled since then, but has rebounded his last 10 starts.
As Andres Torres will start it off for the Mets. There you see Torres, whose splits are just enormously different. 318 versus lefties. He's only a 155 batter the other way, so he's in there tonight. He takes a strike.
And came over here with the reputation his whole career of being a better left-hand hitter. So, surprise, surprise.
Mattis 1-1, and Torres starts it off with a base hit.
Little hanging slider, Keith.
Yes, sir. Up in the strike zone, out over the plate. Not much break. That's just what you call a lot of spin, but not a lot of movement.
When you see that ball come out of a left-hander's hand, you want to see less white. When you see more white, that means he's on the outside of the ball. That's just going to be a spinning slider.
Guys, that brings up Jordany Valdespin, who is making his third straight start and has had a terrific series. You see the numbers: 4 for 8, double, triple, a couple of RBIs, had a big hit to blow the game open last night when it was 3-zip, made it 5-zip late. He takes a strike, and he is just showing you the athleticism that, you know, scouts had talked about throughout this Mets system. And, you know, it's funny because with Ruben Tejada and Ronnie Cedeno on their way back, maybe as soon as this weekend, it was presumed that he would be the guy instantly out of here. That's no longer the presumption.
It's almost like he got an audition here, huh, Keith?
Well, he's got a chance to play, and remember, he was hitting on the interstate for a while, not getting a lot of chance to play. Tough for a young kid to be pinch hitting and spot starting. You got to give him credit. He's stuck with it. He showed a lot of mental strength, and he's earned himself these starts now. I mean, he has been a big factor in the Met wins of late.
0-2 hole here, and he hangs in there.
Take a look at the Coors Light Oriole defense. Old Nick Johnson, his injury spattered career, just a real fine glove over there at first base. And boy, that's just how good would Nick have been if he hadn't had all those injuries.
Johnson will try to turn it, and he gets one. Torres forced out at second on the fielder's choice.
Well, when you see Mattis going up against Valdespin, went right after him with the first pitch, fastball down the middle. That ball out of the strike zone, but Valdespin is a very aggressive hitter. All fastballs until that little slider. And remember yesterday, got that big hit on the slider from Evelyn up the middle. This time tried to pull, it cost him an out.
So now David Wright with one down. Wright, of course, top 5, top 10 categories, a lot of them in the league. See what he's done this series. 4th in batting right now at a .352 clip, 8 home runs for Wright, 38 RBIs. Takes a big cut and fouls it straight back. And as you talk about the home runs, actually the next one for David will be number 192. Significance that he ties Howard Johnson for 3rd place on the Mets all-time list. So it would be the student teacher there, right?
Just set up the dominoes of old Mets. He's just going to keep knocking them off.
Yep.
There goes Valdespin. And the throw by Wieters is in plenty of time. First time Valdespin's been caught on a steal this year. He was 3 for 3, but he's gunned down for the second out.
Well, Mark Wieters, Gold Glove last year, and he can throw. No wasted motion. Look at that right there. Dead as a doornail.
That's
not even close.
About as early as you can get it there. So now Wright bats with the bases empty in a 1-1 count.
Matt Wieters, you know, he hasn't hit the way they think he's going to hit. They think he's going to be Joe Mauer someday, and he probably can be. But he's got the gold already.
Wright with the big hat evens the count. The thing about Wieters, which is interesting, I mean, He's not a small guy. I mean, he's 6'5", 240 back there.
He's the same mold as Maurer, just a real big athlete behind the plate. Difference, he's a switch hitter.
And his splits are bizarre, which we'll get to when he hits. 2-2 to right, and he hangs in.
Let me ask you a question, Keith. Valdespin off the left-handed pitcher. Does he have the green light to steal?
I think a lot of guys have the green light. I'm surprised in today's game that so many guys steal that you would not think would be stealing. I mean, Murphy, I would never give Murphy a green light.
Right hits one deep to left, curving foul. You're laughing because the list is just going to keep on getting bigger.
Yeah, there's never really been, and throughout the 50 years of the Mets, everyday players that have stayed here and played a career. Kranepool's the one that played the longest. And this is not anything to diminish David's numbers. His numbers are going to be fantastic right now. And when he's done playing, he stays healthy, he's going to have Hall of Fame numbers. But it's no surprise. It was just a matter of time before David became number one.
8th pitch of the at-bat, 3-2. And that's going to get through. Second hit of the inning for the Mets. 2-out base runner, and that will bring up Scott Hairston in the cleanup spot today.
Same kind of hit he got last night, huh, Keith? Just so strong.
They've been pounding him steadily in. That is for sure. And we're getting back to old-fashioned baseball. You know, we had that period of time when the steroid era and guys were breaking bats, hitting opposite field home runs. Those days are gone now, and I think pitchers now are realizing they have to pitch inside.
So here's Hairston, who has annihilated left-handed pitching this year. 338, 7 of his 9 home runs against the lefties. He's at 277 overall. And Keith, you're talking about the home runs, how the game has changed. I am very curious in this park with this weather, new dimensions, now that the humidity is here, what's going to happen? Because clearly the new fence, I mean, the Mets have 26 home runs here at home, and 11 of them are because the fences have been moved in.
But I do think the ballpark is fair now. I really do. And I still think it plays big. I really do. And 408 in center is a long way. You've got 385 to the right of center, to the left side of center field, 390. That's a big poke right there. It's a fair ballpark, and I think it plays slightly large. You can't call this place a bandbox, that's for sure.
1-1 to Hairston. His right has a small lead over at first and takes that outside 2-1. You know, but you think Deshay, I mean, you got those July and August days, the ball would even carry out of there, and that was by no means a hitter's park.
And a good time to talk about it with the weather being 95 to 100 today. A much different day than we've had all in the early part of the season.
2-1. Hairston fooled on that one.
He never gets cheated, I'll tell you that.
A little change up. You see that circle grip, and he just, as you talked about last night, Keith, pronates that arm, turns it over, lack of speed, and a little movement away from Hairston.
Johnson holds right as Hairston to center.
Oh.
Jones, it's dropped. Right still running, and Tuffle holds him at third. Adam Jones looked like he had it all the way, and Ryan Flaherty came in. They hit gloves. The ball hit the ground, and it's second and third for the Mets.
Well, that's the center fielder's ball all the way. And I just don't know if Jones took charge. He's got to open his mouth. Flaherty's calling for it.
Yeah, but it's very unusual to see a Buck Showalter team that is usually pretty buttoned up to make some of the mistakes they've made the last couple of days.
Well, David, just kind of happens. You just kind of assume. And if he was running like that, he would have scored.
Oh, instead, it's second and third after the error. They give that one to Jones for Vinny Rottino. Takes upstairs. Oh, no. Called strike. Rottino at 200 on the year. Does have a couple home runs. Both of those have come off left-handed pitchers. 5 RBIs. Behind that fastball. at 93 miles an hour. He's in an 0-2 hole. We'll see if the Mets can take advantage over the Orioles, who just made their 59th error that leads the American League. Not a good category to lead in. Behind 0-2. Is it? I mean, it's maybe a little warm for the extra layer of clothing for Buck.
He's probably got a tip of on a snowstorm.
That's his look.
I know.
You know, we had Rick Peterson here. He had his look.
Oh, silk.
Full sleeves. He still get the start Friday. 0-2, blocked by Wieters.
Well, we're supposed to have 3 days. They said originally 2 days of near 100 degrees, but now they've added a third day, and supposedly on Saturday it's going to get back down into the 80s. It's my Gary Cohn impersonation.
Oh, Clouds Cohen.
I appreciate you doing that, because I don't have the weather acumen that Gary does. So thank you for taking over in that department, Keith.
But no rain.
Well, that's good. 1-2 to Rutino, and Mattis will handle this one himself. So the Mets will leave 2 on after the error by Adam Jones. They don't capitalize. We're through 1 at Citi Field, and we're scoreless. Check out the AT&T trivia question. Who holds the Orioles record for most home runs in a season? I want to say immediately Jim Palmer, because that's what we were going.
The last 2 nights, right?
But I don't think it's him. We'll get to the answer in just a bit. So Adam Jones will lead it off here in the top of the second inning. We're scoreless at Citi Field, and Jones lazily went after that one, an error, but the Mets could not take advantage as Rutino grounded out. So now Jones will start it up here. 155 total bases for Jones. That's number 2 in the American League, behind only Josh Hamilton. And G starts him off with a strike with a fastball. Interesting note from our friends at Elias today about Adam Jones, simply because his name does not necessarily get brought up in this category. G's 0-1, just missed. Looking for that strike. It's 1-1. Jones is 3rd in the majors in both homers and RBIs. That is a center fielder over the last 4 years. Other people in that company: Curtis Granderson, Matt Kemp.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty solid. Chance for Justin Turner, who's playing short today, and he makes the play. His first game back since the ankle injury. Now you get to Citi Field Friday night at 7:10, a New York baseball showdown. Subway Series begins. For your Subway Series tickets, visit Mets.com or call 718-507-TIXX. That'll bring up Matt Wieters. You guys are talking about Wieters in the last inning from a defensive standpoint, but boy, are his splits strange. When you look at him, he is 400 batter as a right-handed hitter. As a left-handed hitter, 201. It's a 200-point difference. However, 8 of his 9 home runs are from the left side.
Well, sometimes I think all switch hitters, and Keith, you can probably answer this better. Not that you were a switch hitter, but you played with some of the best switch hitters and against some of the best. They try to get so their swing is the same from both sides of the plate. But occasionally you'll get a hitter that is all power on one side and average on another.
What I found was a lot of switch hitters became better hitters on their wrong side because they worked more on that side, the weak side. And then Ted Simmons was a natural left-hand hitter, hit for more power left-handed. Was a better average hitter right-handed, which was his unnatural side. You know, Pete Rose, same way.
Yeah.
Pete had more power from the right side.
And Wieters is down on strike. So Dylan G has his second strikeout. Foul tip caught by Nickius. 2 down here in the second.
I think probably here's the pitch right here. Fastball running.
Yeah, a little two-seamer that he starts on the outside corner, kind of runs it away. The thing about G, he doesn't have anything that really sinks. It'll kind of run away. A nice job by Nickius catching the foul tip.
That'll be Nick Johnson now with 2 out and the bases empty. Johnson at 200 on the year. Does have 4 home runs. Has just 1 at bat in this series. A pinch hitter. He struck out. He takes a cut and fouls it right back. Keith, what do you think, you know, when you're talking about a guy like Wieters, big, powerful guy, and your point is well taken about how guys work on their opposite side more and sometimes get a better stroke from the other side. But why would there be such a disparity in power? That's the confusing thing to me.
Well, I think that your unnatural side, you're going to tend to be more disciplined and work on just making contact, because it's hard enough from one side. Your natural side, you're going to be more loose and I think free. Now, Mickey Mantle is probably the greatest. Eddie Murray, Mickey Mantle, the greatest switch hitters of all time with power from both sides, and both were really pretty natural from both sides. But usually you can tell a difference.
You can see the swing.
You can find out. Yeah. You can see a switch hitter know which is his natural side.
G's 1-2, just missed outside. 2-2 to Nick Johnson as Dylan G. Pretty good command early. I asked Terry Collins for the game, and what does he think the big reason is for the big strikeouts up and the balls and walks down? He said simply command. 2-2, and he gets him. Dylan G pulls the string, his 3rd strikeout. 2 solid innings for G. Bottom 2 scoreless at Citi Field. Warm day in New York City. Dylan G's through 2, looking sharp with 3 Ks. Ike Davis leads off the home second. Ike had just 1 hit so far this series, but it was a biggie. the grand slam in the R.A. Dickey game on Monday here against Mattis, and he takes strike one. Ike had a 9-game hitting streak silenced last night, but he's still hitting much better as the shift is on.
There it is. Interesting they don't drop Roberts back on the grass.
Ike way out in front.
What was interesting about all these shifts, and we went into Kevin in Tampa with Joe Madden.
Yeah.
And all the extreme streams of his defensive placement. And he really didn't do it that much with the Mets because the Mets have a lot of guys that spray the ball. Of course, they did it on Duda and they did it on Ike. But basically, I thought we overshifted more than they did in the entire series.
0-2 to Davis. Breaking ball didn't break too much, and it's 1-2. So we hyped it up, and it just never occurred by Joe Madden, essentially. Turner on deck, getting his first start since coming back from that ankle injury that came back a lot quicker than the video replay looked he would when that happened, as Davis to center, and Adam Jones this time makes the catch. One away.
Kevin, how Joe Madden and Davey Johnson do today?
I was just gonna drop that bomb.
They're not going out for tea and crumpets later. I don't know if you saw the game last night in D.C. with the Rays and the Nationals. Well, Joel Peralta used to pitch for the Nationals, comes in for the Rays. Davey Johnson called the umps out. Go to check the glove. You see Washington winning there. Strasburg on the mound tonight, and found pine tar in Peralta's glove. Peralta taken out of the game. After said game, Joe Madden said it was a cowardly move by Davey Johnson.
Strong.
Davey had quite a lot to say today on the topic in his pregame meeting, but it ended with he didn't know Madden really, but he thought he was, quote, a weird wuss. I don't know. You can make your own interpretation of that as Turner takes a strike. It's 0-2.
There was a day when them were fighting words.
Yes. Well, we'll see what happens tonight.
Hey, don't mess with Davey with the confidence level. He will bury you. Remember, Davey was Joe Madden 30 years ago.
Yeah, he was. Turner on the outside corner. He's down on 3 pitches. So Brian Mattis has his first strikeout, and there's 2 down here in the second. And as Mike Nickia strolls to the plate, let's go down the field. Eamon McEnany standing by.
Thanks, Kevin. You know, if I didn't know any better, I thought this might be your way of hazing me, sending me out here for the hottest game of the year. But most of the players downplaying the heat today, although Ike Davis did admit that he was much happier playing a night game, not a day game. But I had a chance to talk to Vinny Rottino, and he had an interesting perspective on it. He said, hey, look, I spent most of last year in New Orleans, where it never cooled down, no matter when you were playing. Thought you were playing in a furnace most of the time. And then he put it in perspective. I think this was an interesting way to say it. Hey, I'd much rather have this than April in Buffalo. So the guys more than happy to be out here near 100 degrees.
You know, that's a real good point. You talk about April in Buffalo, playing in the wind and the cold, no doubt. It's weird because, you know, usually when Eamon is here, I'm not. And Gary is off for a couple days for his son's graduation. So good for Gary, who just never gets a day off.
Eamon didn't have any problem jumping right in your seat, Kevin. I'll tell you that.
Long. He's a lot sweatier than I am, though. 1-1 down to third. Benamy. Can he make the throw? It's in the dirt. Nice scoop. Nick Johnson saves him, and the inning is over. So a 1-2-3 inning for Brian Mattis. We're through 2 at Citi Field, scoreless. Bill Webb tonight. Hot and muggy in New York. Good crowd for a Wednesday night. Mets going for the sweep of the Orioles. And Wilson Bettamy, third baseman, leads off the third against Dylan G. G's looked good. 3 strikeouts through 2. As you see, Bettamy, he has some significance in this series because he was the only Oriole to get a hit off of R.A. Dickey on Monday night.
Well, when he was younger, came up, was going to be the next star in this league. Didn't quite work out. Now a platoon type player and a guy with some power.
Big cut. 0-2.
This is where I'd like to see G throw in. 0-2. Throw one, pop one in. Right at the letters. He tried to.
That was the design. He just didn't get it there. Sometimes Dylan gets a little bit 2 3/4 wrong with that fastball, and it bleeds. It tends to bleed out.
I think what Dylan can learn from Johan Santana, as you see, he comes off that pitch, is that Johan sets up his changeup by pitching all the right-handers in. Dylan could do the same thing against the left-handed hitters. Get ahead of them, pound them in, make them feel that presence, and then throw that changeup away. And even if he throws a bad one, he might get away with it if he has made the left-handers think about the inside corner.
Now, I have a question for you. You want to make a purpose pitch inside and you miss like G did out over the plate. The hitter doesn't know you meant it in. Would you come back in and try it again?
Have to. Have to.
Valdespin playing in right field as Bettamy retired. 1 down. Was mentioned. Bettamy, the only guy to get a hit off of R.A. Dickey on Monday, where the Mets, we talked about this pitching this year. It's been all about that, and Dickey, phenomenal. Coming off the 1-hitter in Tampa Bay, what does he do? Goes out and throws a 1-hitter. But this time, instead of 12 strikeouts, he struck out 13. Dickey, phenomenal in that game. And the only offense the Mets needed in the 6th, Ike Davis. First career grand slam. And for Ike, that wasn't all. After he rounded the bases, he got this first career curtain call. Mets took game 1 of the series behind Dickey, who's now 11-1.
And I tell you what, I think Josh Thole deserves an honorable mention there.
Yeah.
He threw the best knuckleball RA I've ever seen, and particularly the last 3 innings, throwing all that hard knuckleball, and Thole didn't. I don't think he dropped one.
That's impressive. Totally agree with you, Keith, after the game, too. He said it was the best one he's ever seen, and he's caught him for a while now, even in Buffalo. Rutino, long run, and it's going to go foul.
Boy, Dylan G doing a nice job. 1-2, 0-2 on every hitter.
Ryan Flaherty is a Rule 5 guy who the Orioles got from the Cubs in December. G's got him 0-2. And he gets him. So pitching Dylan G with his 4th strikeout, and we showed you R.A. Dickey in game 1. How about last night in game 2? Johan Santana just couldn't find the rhythm after that no-hitter. Last night he found it, and he found it in a big way. Got out of 1 jam in the 4th here with a strikeout of Mark Reynolds and gave you 6 innings. And then this time the offense was from Lucas Duda. Just got out of the net. His team leading 11th home run. And the Mets win first 2 games of the series by identical 5-0 counts. That's where we stand here. No score in the 3rd.
Same kind of game, right? Really good pitching and an opportune home run ball.
Brian Mattis, the pitcher, is 0 for 7 in his career. Obviously doesn't get to hit too often in interleague. As there's Johan. And there's his first career hits.
On a rope.
See if they're going to keep that one from Mattis.
Dylan said, do you want it? He goes, well, I got to kind of run the bases, so maybe throw it in the dugout. That's funny.
It did look like that was a very courteous ask, didn't it?
There goes another no-hitter.
And then he just banged it off the cement, so now it's got marks on it.
Look, they'll clean it up.
Yeah?
Hopefully.
Little Windex.
Do you have your first hit?
Oh, of course.
Really?
I do. Mike Caldwell in Candlestick Park.
Brian Roberts, a switch hitter, struck out his first at-bat to lead off the game. As G works upstairs and away, 1-0. His Mets pitching staff now. And G can get through this inning. Right now, they're sitting at 24 consecutive scoreless innings. That's the type of pitching they've been getting, especially from their starters. Their 8 shutouts lead the National League, and after that one was high with a fastball. Nickius wants to talk. Here are some of the top 2 starters around the league, and the Mets, as you see, good as anyone.
Well, it's so hard to see San Francisco and not have Lincecum there. It's Vogelsong and Kane. Lincecum struggling this year.
Struggling. He's just getting lit up. Amazing.
I think he regrets turning down that contract offer right now.
Well, I think he's more concerned right now about getting himself back on track.
And G, all of a sudden losing his feel here, has gone 3-0 on Brian Roberts.
It's almost like the hit. The pitcher got him angry and got him out of his rhythm.
Does that get under your skin as a pitcher any more than any other hit when the pitcher gets a hit?
I would say when you give it up to American League, yeah,
it does. And 4 pitches, he walks Brian Roberts. First walk issued by Dylan G. So G was cruising along, and enough of a concern that Dan Worthen's coming out to talk.
Well, I think for Dylan G, what happens is that he'll get into a mode, and what's great about Dylan is that he's so professional. You wouldn't know if he's losing 4-0 or winning 4-0. I think that's a good thing to have as a starting pitcher. But he'll get in a mode where he starts missing because he starts overthrowing. He wants to just keep pounding that fastball in. He should always subtract. As soon as he gets in trouble, just concentrate on flipping a curve over for a strike, using that good changeup, and throwing his fastball to spots.
J.J. Hardy with 2 on and 2 out. He's got some pop. 11 home runs on the year for the former Brewer, now Orioles shortstop. And again, G missing outside, so 5 straight out of the zone for Dylan G.
This is a dangerous pitch right here. Pitcher's thinking, I've got to throw a strike. J.J. Hardy's thinking, I know he's got to come with a fastball.
And G has just lost it after that hit by Mattis. He was throwing nothing but strikes, but now 6 straight out of the zone and not close. 2-0 to Hardy.
It's a very dangerous pitch right here.
Roberts on first can run if you get a gapper. Gets a strike. Stops the bleeding for a moment.
How can you take that pitch? Guy can't find the plate, and you're 2-0, and you're not looking middle in, and you get a fastball down and in. I just don't get it.
Hardy right to short. Turner squeezes it, and the inning is over. So G lost control for a moment, but he regains form. Bottom 3 we go, still scoreless. finishing out tonight against the Orioles, and then Subway Series Part 2 over the weekend. Yankees here at Citi Field, and then final road trip for the All-Star break. 3 in Chicago, and then 4 against the Dodgers, who have had a great first half. Remember, you can listen to all Mets games on Sports Radio 66 WFAN with Howie and Josh. Dylan G leads it off. That one hit, though, was a biggie. It was a double. He remembers that one. And since Brian Mattis singled off of him the last inning, maybe G can give it back.
Yeah, return the favor.
He takes ball 1. When you look at G the last inning, he recovered. He lost it for 6-7 pitches after he was kind of cruising for a little bit. Ronnie, what can happen in a moment like that?
Well, I think that what happens is that you are sailing along. You can't believe the pitcher hits a bullet up the middle. You miss the first 2 and then you aim one. Now you walk the first hitter. And honestly, probably shouldn't be out of that inning. And, pitchers always only remember the base hits that get them in trouble. They always forget their infielders making a nice play on a bullet. And that's what it was for Marty. Oh, boy.
Speaking of, here's Brian Mattis, who can't find the strike zone against the opposing pitcher. Rick Adair is the pitching coach for the Orioles, his second year, former Mariners pitching coach. G takes a strike, 3-1.
Was in the Mariners organization as a minor leaguer for 7 years. Was Adair.
Third round pick in '79.
Oh,
Benamit with a nice snare, and this time, boy, he makes the throw, but it wasn't easy as G is retired, 1 down.
I tell you what, I've seen a lot of loose play here. I mean, Ronnie, you mentioned it earlier.
Let's go to Eamon McEnany now outside the Verizon studios for tonight's Ask the Booth, presented by Verizon Fios Quantum.
All right, Kevin, thanks a lot. I'm here with Keith Porosky, originally from Bayonne, but he drove all the way today from Altoona for the game, and now he gets a chance to ask the booth a question.
Yes, so where does R.A. Dickey's back-to-back one-hitters rank in Mets history?
Very, very good question there. Well, as far as the Mets history, no one's done it. I mean, it's Dave Stieb in 1988, 24 years ago, the last time that was done, back-to-back one-hitters or no-hitters, no-hitter with a one-hitter. In the National League, it was, 68 years with Jim Tobin.
Boy, Benamit makes a bad throw, and Torres going to go on down to second. Benamit's been an adventure at third base so far. Score the error on him on the throw.
Well, they got the backhand and just makes a bad throw. And really, Nick Johnson is not really moving very with agility over at first. Once you realize that ball's going to take you off the bag, you got to keep it in front of you. Listen, when you make throws that are perfect and you do it casually, it looks like a style master, right? When you don't, it looks bad. And that's what Benamit's looked so far.
He's had 3 opportunities. Both throws have been wild, and then that one not even close. So the error. Torres at second with 1 down, and here's Valdespin, who grounded into a fielder's choice his first at bat.
I think the thing about Dickey, which is cool, though, is that, Keith, you were right in the middle of it when Fernando Valenzuela was doing his thing. Rusty Staub, who was on the field before the game, told me that Mark the Bird Fidderich, when he was in Detroit, there never was a greater year than that for the Bird when he went, I believe, 19 wins that 1 year. And Dwight Gooden, we had a front row seat for Dwight Gooden when he went on his run where he was unhittable or seemed unhittable every single night.
That was 85. He finished his last 25 starts, Dwight, 18-1. Can you believe that?
1-1. Hardy makes the throw. Torres alertly goes to third.
So my point is that Mr. Dickey is getting to himself to a point where at home and on the road, they're going to want to watch him pitch.
And I don't know the answer to the question. Here's the pitch sequence right here. It's a fastball up. Curveball right hanging right there to hit. 1-1, fastball away. So the first at bat, though, it's always good. Remember, the first at bat, they pounded Valdespin 3 fastballs up and in. So they established that first at bat off Valdespin with fastballs in, then went away that at bat. So he changed the program. I don't know if you read Mike Vaccaro's story in the Post today about all the great streaks. I think we talk about RA. It's right there with New York greatness. I mean, there's just some amazing numbers that he's right there with. Carl Hubble, of course, 36. There you go, right there, the back-to-back complete games. Newcomb had a great run in 56. Seaver, of course, in 71. Doc, Guidry, remember Guidry, everybody?
Oh, wow, that's right.
In 78. Mike Mussina in 2002, 2003 was awesome. So, you know, this is just really historic what he's doing. He's right there with the greats.
Where did Guidry go that year? 25-3.
Cajun Lightning.
Raging Cajun, you're right.
The neat thing about that graphic is that you saw Jim Tobin on that list. You guys brought that up on Monday. He was the last national leaguer to do it. He was also a knuckleballer.
Knuckleballer, that's right. And he could hit, too. He's used as a pinch hitter a lot.
Well, Carl Hubble was in 34, of course, when he struck out Murderer's Row in the All-Star game. And Whitey Ford in 61 in June and July went 13-0. So it's all these great names, and there's RA. I mean, it was a great story in the Post today.
I know the story about Whitey Ford and his back-to-back one-hitters. Well, in between those one-hitters, he had a relief appearance, as pitchers in those days usually did.
2-1 to right. Mets trying to take the lead, and that catches the outside portion of the plate. 2-2. I mean, the other fascinating thing was until Verlander pitched last night, RA and Verlander were tied for the Major League in strikeouts, which is, here's a guy that's on 101. Here's a guy that's topping out at 79. Little cue shot for right. Roberts hauls it in, and the Mets are through in the third. We played 3 at Citi Field. Scoreless game, Mets and O's. His daily routine and his past career before baseball. Plus, see the unique way some local artists paid tribute to Mike Piazza. Mets Weekly, presented by W.B. Mason. New episode Sunday at 6 p.m. only on SNY. Dylan G takes the mound for the 4th. Chris Davis, big cut and a miss, and it's strike 1.
This guy reminds me of the Russell Branions and others. Kind of have the one plane swing. Like that ball, probably middle of the plate in, down and in.
Big low ball hitter, uppercut upstairs, up and in is where he's going to be blind. And Mets Mets pitching is working on in this series now 21 innings, scoreless innings, 21 scoreless.
Oh, Davis was a pitcher too. He did pitch 2 innings of that crazy series in Boston in
That's right.
the extra inning affair in May 6th and got a victory.
He got the win, and Darnell McDonald, the outfielder, got the loss.
It's the last time you saw 2 position players on the mound to end it. First AL position player to get a victory since Rocky Colavito. Good rip but foul.
See that pitch? That little slider down and in. Hit hard by Davis. That is his strength. But you know what you can do against a guy who loves the ball down? Here's that breaking ball that we're talking about. Down and in. A guy who likes the ball down, you can see that he's got that knuckle, almost like a knuckle curve on top of that before he releases it. That's a lazy break there.
But Davis down on strikes. So Dylan G has his 5th victim.
This is an exercise in futility, is it not?
I brought this up before the AT&T trivia question. The Orioles record for most home runs in a season. It's got to be Brady Anderson.
Frank. Oh yeah, 50.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Leadoff spot.
1 year wonder.
Oh,
I wonder why.
it wasn't Jim Palmer.
He's a special assistant now to the GM, and after games, he used to, with the inline skating, he would skate back to his apartment.
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy. So he'd take you deep twice and then skate home.
Adam Jones with 1 down. He grounded a short his first time up. Tomahawks one into the stands.
One thing I see about Jones, and I don't know if you feel the same way, Keith, he is a free swinger. He likes to swing the bat, so you can use that against him. You can pitch on the periphery of the strike zone, make him chase.
Keith, you just mentioned this is, going on 22 scoreless innings in this series alone, but the Orioles have 7 hits. 7 hits
and,
so far.
25 strikeouts.
Oof. It's a rough number. G's already got 5 strikeouts so far with 1 down in the 4th. He's got a 1-2 count to Jones.
I got to think right now that this ballpark is kind of psyching this club out as far as they're coming in here. They're feeling good about themselves. The Orioles, third in the American League. And there you see
1-2 to Jones, and he stays alive. I mean, that just shows you the types of pitching they've had already. At least 3 times they've had at least 20 scoreless innings in a row, this Mets staff this year. That gives you an idea of the type of pitching they've gotten.
And the Mets right now are currently, as a team, on a roller coaster. Sweep, but gets swept, back and forth.
One, 2. And he got him. Nikias holds on. Strikeout number 6 for Dylan G.
Well, again, we're talking about the periphery of the strike zone at the changeup. And the great thing about Dylan, he has the strength to throw it against left-handers and right-handers. And that down and in pitch with the changeup, if you can keep it down out of the strike zone, is a great pitch.
G's season high for strikeouts is 9. That was a game against the Padres at the end of May. He's already got 6. As Wieters with a cut and a miss. Terry talked about this last year a lot, about if he could, putting Dickey at the start of a series because he felt it could throw off the hitter's timing a little bit. I don't know. Are you buying into that at all? Do you think there is some effect of that here, or is it just the Orioles having a bad series? It's 0-1. To get to that, we come back. Ike tosses to G, and Dylan G motoring through 4. Mets, though, trying to get on the board, and we come back. Series. It'll be a game on Picks Friday night. Pettit and Nice, and then the gem of the weekend Sunday night game, Dickey and Sabathia. That should be nice. Scoreless here in the fourth as the Mets going for the sweep of the Orioles. Scott Hairston will lead it off against Brian Mattis.
You know, CC coming off a complete game effort with 10 punch-outs. So, you know, pale in comparison to what the RA is doing, but CC's on a roll too.
And here's the thing. We've been talking, rightfully so, a lot about this Mets pitching staff. The one thing they have not done consistently is beaten lefty starters this year. They are 8-15 against left-handed starters this year. And really, yeah, they have a couple guys like Torres and Harrison who have feasted on the left-handed pitching. Their best left-handed hitter, though, is Ruben Tejada at 409, and he's not here, and he hasn't been here since May 7th.
Listen, they've got a top-heavy left-handed team. Yep. That's why they've struggled against lefties. So when they do face a lefty, you've got Nickius in the lineup, you got Rotino in the lineup. Murph's not in here. Valdespin is.
Hairston hacks one that's going to get to the wall. And Scott Hairston will cruise into second base. He's got himself a leadoff double. That's his 10th of the year.
Cannot throw him up in the strike zone.
No, you cannot. And he loves, that's a cutter and just didn't get it in enough. And that's a fastball.
Fastball that he's trying to get on the outside, trying to throw it up in the strike zone. That's not going to work.
He's lucky he didn't get lift.
Yeah.
So Harrison just continues to hit.
Hairston looks like he wants to do damage to the baseball like you're taking a sledgehammer to a watermelon. He just exerts all kinds of energy as he has his 10th double. The Mets try to get something going. Rotino will move the runner. Roberts throws out Rotino, but Hairston to third with one down.
As was Rotino's intent. When you're a spot player, you're trying to stay on the roster, you're getting a chance to play, you're going to do the little things. And you can tell if we want to show this again. He just had every intent of going the other way. That was an inside out on a pitch middle in that he had no intention of pulling. You can see right here, it's a little cutter, and he just was going that way. You can see his whole body, eyes even looking in that direction.
So here's Ike Davis, who is 7 of 17 getting runners home from third with less than 2 outs. Mets have not been great in that department despite their clutch hitting this year. And the Orioles have the shift on, and it's a shallow shift at that.
That's because they want to cut off the run. This is kind of like the first time we've seen a shift with the infield in.
Well, I sure don't like this, and Buck is a smarter man than me, of course. I do not like this early fourth inning. Ike Davis up. I'd take the out and give up a run, wouldn't you?
I agree. But we see a lot of managers in today's game playing infields in early. Terry Collins does it a lot.
You know, it'd be different if you had a pitcher out there who has a history of just shutting a team down. Mattis is a guy that, you know, has had an up and down year so far this year. ERA approaching 5.
That set Ike in an 0-2 hole quickly. And he's down on 3 pitches. So once again, the Mets failing to get in that run from third base with less than 2 outs, and now they'll take a clutch hit to do it.
Well, it gets him out in front. It all started with down and in fastball, Ronnie.
There's your curve. I wouldn't even say that's a particularly great one, except there was enough speed off the baseball to fool Ike. You know, in the last week, Terry Collins has found a way to keep Ike away from those at-bats, tough at-bats against left-handed pitching. With him starting today against Mattis, not so much.
Justin Turner, with 2 down and a runner on third in a scoreless game, takes a strike. Turner struck out his first time up. And Turner, a guy you like in these situations. He's at .438 with runners in scoring position this year. It's weird. The Mets are a terrific team with runners on and 2 outs, but they're not a good team with a runner on third necessarily, getting the sac fly and things like that.
I would almost play Turner like you played Davis. With runners on base, an RBI situation, he loves to hit to that right side. Johnson way off the base at first, trying to kill that hole. Roberts up the middle.
Just like Davis, Turner in an 0-2 hole. Hairston had the leadoff double. Rotino moved him over to third nicely. Mets trying to pick him up and take a lead. Omar Quintanilla has been playing short regularly with Tejada and Cedeno and Turner out. And Quintanilla got a hit last night, but he was in an 0 for 16 rut, maybe getting a little tired. Terry Collins said he was leery at first to get Turner back out there because the ankle's still a little tender. Nickias on deck if Turner can keep it going. 10 RBIs so far the year for Justin. 2-2. And he hooks one foul.
You know, there was a day when you got hurt and there was no rehab assignments. You went on the DL and you worked around in the outfield. You took extra batting practice, and then you went out into the game. You weren't sent to the minors to rehab.
Johnson giving chase. Another foul.
And I think that's one of the good things in the game, that you can send a player down to AAA or A-ball, wherever, and let him play in some game experience when he's hurt, so they can see some live pitching. And I only got hurt a couple times late in my career. The first 13 years of my career, I never got hurt. But all you took was, I saw enough guys in the DL. They would come out early, take BP, do their running, get themselves in shape, and then watch from the bench, and then go out there, and it would be the first game action was back in the big leagues when they came off the DL.
That's tough. It's interesting you say that because Terry Collins has Ronnie Cedeno down in Buffalo for a while. He wants him to get a little bit hot for bringing him up. Again, the 2-2, and Turner stays alive. With Bay coming up and struggling, Terry has said, listen, I don't want guys down there for sure. I want them to get their stroke back before coming up here. Just the opposite of what you're saying, Keith.
And it's not an exact science, Keith and Kevin. You think about it in spring training, what is Collins trying to do? Get each hitter 60 or 70 at bats to get them ready for a championship season. So what do you do when a guy's on the DL for 4 months? You get him 20 at bats against single A pitching? That's certainly not going to get him where he wants to be.
Agreed.
Turner working another good at bat here after falling behind 0-2, as he's done a bunch of times already, trying to give the Mets the lead. Ball 4, Justin Turner fights back from down 0-2. He draws the walk, and that'll be up to Mike Nickias.
Pretty good at bat by Turner. As usual with men on base, he's a tough out.
What makes him a tough out?
But he has the ability to go the other way, and he stays within himself. He knows he's not a power hitter. He's not going up there trying to hit an 8-run home run, and he stays level, and he just tries to hit line drives. And listen, in a situation like this, unless you're Willie McCovey, the Barry Bonds, Chipper Jones, if you get a pitch and a head in the count, you can hit a home run. Yeah. You're trying to get a guy like Turner, you're getting a base hit to put your club ahead. He also has a good eye, so that helps him.
So here's Nicky, as you see the average, but Mike has had some big hits for this team this year. He's 6 of 18 with runners in scoring position, including a grand slam. Right now, the Mets will just take a single, try and take the lead here. With runners on the corners, 2 down in the home 4th.
Well, Nickias had a big at bat in Tampa Bay, didn't he? Against David Price, had a base hit up the middle.
Yes, he did. Also did a good job catching Dickey that day. Here looking for the offense. Is he going to hang up there? Jones can't make the play. Hairston comes in to score. Going to third is Turner. It's an RBI single for Mike Nickias, and the Mets are up 1-0.
Oh boy, Jones, a tough play. But that's 2 now that did it in his glove and popped out. But this is a difficult chance right here. He had it and it just popped out off the heel of his glove. So Mike Nickias comes through in the clutch.
Another big hit gets the Mets on the board first, and now Dylan G will try his luck. It all started with Justin Turner down 0-2 in that at bat, drawing the walk, giving Nickias the shot. G. Grenna right back to Mattis his first time up. 1 for 20 this year with a double. Take strike one. Bennett, who's been an adventure, on point with that throw, and the inning is over. But the Mets get on the board to break the ice here. They lead it 1-0.
One more out to go as Kuzman serves up this for the amazing team of destiny. And it's only right that Cleon Jones can savor the final seconds of its flight. Look who's number one. The world champions of baseball, the New York Mets.
I just like the music in the background. You know, tomorrow night on SNY, it'll be the Mets all-time team show. And it's going to be fun. You know, Keith, obviously you were there. I was there the other night. And wait till you hear Cleon's story about that last out. It was tremendous. He couldn't get off the field.
Right. Well, you noticed then after he made that catch, he didn't even come to the mound. He bolted towards the Mets bullpen. We won't tell any more of the story. But it was a fun night. I tell you what, I remember in '69 when they beat the Baltimore Orioles. It was just amazing. Yeah. And it really was my introduction to New York. Seeing the fans come off the 7 train over the right field fence from the bullpen. It was just, I just truly enjoyed that series.
By the way, that Mets all-time team show at 7 o'clock tomorrow night on SNY. So trust me, it's worth it. If you weren't there, even if you were, it's a great watch. Nick Johnson, as Torres puts him away, and there's one down. That actually brings up an interesting point, Keith. You're talking about your first impressions. 29 years ago today, you know what that was? Your Shea Stadium debut.
Oh, it's my Shea debut.
As a Met. It was a doubleheader against the Cardinals. You had 3 in Montreal to start your Met career. And then a doubleheader against the Cardinals. You remember that day?
Did I hit a home run? No.
You did.
Off John Stupert in the right field bullpen.
There you go.
2-0 fastball.
Amazing. How do you remember like specifics like that?
Well, I just knew he was going to throw me a sinker away, and he didn't get it there, and I was just sitting on it.
Well, you'd been his teammate also just the prior year.
Benamy with a big hack. Well, that helps. Remember about that day, Keith? You know, coming to this team that what was it, 94 loss season, something like that, and you know your impressions just getting home after playing the first few on the road as a Met after the trade from St. Louis.
Well, you know, it's very unsettling to get traded in the middle of the season, and I was married at that time with 2 kids, and they were in St. Louis. I had to come by myself. My ex-wife wasn't able to join me really till the second homestand. And it's strike 3 right there, and I tell you what, This Oriole lineup, maybe check their bat. They're Swiss cheese bats. But I remember I did not particularly like coming to Shea because there was no people here. And certainly the Mets were a last place team. So I was in a pretty foul mood. But, you know, you got to do what you got to do. I remember Bobby Valentine being very, very helpful with me. He was the third base coach there.
Ryan Flaherty, first pitch swinging. Vinny Rottino has a beat, makes the catch, and Dylan G is cruising. 7 strikeouts through 5. Mets up by 1 on the Nickius RBI. Get there by morning if you leave now, Keith.
That's always a great thing to see when the season was over, Ron, in October. You got your first sunset.
That's
not
right.
at the ballpark.
Those people on the west side right now.
Sidewalk Cafe. Heineken. Bud. Whatever.
Andres Torres leads it off for the Mets in the home 6. Brian Mattis just threw his 69th pitch, so he's had to work a little bit tonight. Torres is 1 for 2, singled, forced off the bases in the first, and then reached on an error, stranded at third in the third. There's a strike. You know, point out that Lucas Duda not in the lineup tonight, not because the lefty was starting for the Orioles. Terry Collins may have put Duda in and taken Ike out tonight, but Duda had some hamstring issues going on. Terry said he's available, nothing serious, but Duda did mention it today, and he felt guys with the heat, why take the chance? Give him today and tomorrow off. Didn't want to have a strain or something happen tonight.
Yeah, don't get alarmed, fans. Just a little tightness in the hammy. Terry Collins was addressing that Lucas Duda is the hardest working player they have. He's here at 1:30 every day, works until 11 o'clock every night, and it's not surprising that he's sore every once in a while.
And he was out working out with the team in BP and things like that, so he'll be fine. May see him later. We'll find out. 3-1 to Torres leading off the 5th. Fastball strike. And it's 3-2. There she goes. Look at the haze in the sky, the different colors. It just kind of looked like they were in slow motion on that one. It's kind of been the thought of this game so far. The heat and humidity slowing everyone down. Oh, geez, got the Pedialyte out.
You know, you get in between starts, when you're going to have this kind of day. Now, in the middle of the summer, it's 90 plus every single day.
Chance for Hardy. And Torres retired.
Not a big deal, but you will get the trainer sometimes in between starts saying, hey, listen, I just saw the weather report. It's going to be 95, 100 your next start. Make sure, let's start hydrating now. So 3-4 days before your start, you would make sure that you would drink an overabundance of water.
That far in advance?
Oh, yeah, just as much as you can, yeah. The trainers were always worried about that.
I was always remiss in my fluids. I played every day, and I never drank water during a game, very seldom.
Really?
I got thirsty once in a while, but I didn't Gatorade. I hated Gatorade.
Yeah. It leaves a bad taste, you know, that sweetness.
I just didn't like the taste in my mouth. And I drank water on occasion, but I wasn't a big water drinker.
Valdespin's 0 for 2. Reached on a fielder's choice in the first, grounded out to short in the third. And the Mets have an interesting choice coming up. You know, Terry Collins was talking about the injuries to the shortstops today. As Roberts not in time. Valdespin busted out of the box. And he beats out an infield hit. Saying Terry's going to have a decision to make because Valdespin is making it difficult.
Boy, I tell you what. He's out. They got him. That's a bad call.
Yep.
It's ready to say Buck Showalter to put a room check on the next road trip.
You know what, though? Valdespin gives you the element that this team doesn't have. You know, not that he has, you know, the Reyes type speed, but he's athletic, he's wiry, he goes first to third well, and like you just saw, you know, beats out infield hits as well. He got caught stealing earlier in the game. It was first time this year, 3 for 4 on the bases as David Wright takes a ball.
Well, he brings some energy to the ball club. He brings some pop in his bat.
Well, talking about the decision, and that's because Ruben Tejada getting to Buffalo today, so he'll be there, you figure, for at least a couple starts. Ronnie Cedeno's been in Buffalo now for 5-6 games. Looks like he could be back Friday for the Yankee series. That seems to be the way the Mets are going, but you know, now who goes away? And they also have roster issues. You know, a guy like Omar Quintanilla is on the 40-man now, and if you expose him, he might be snatched up by another team. So it's not a real easy decision what the Mets have right now in terms of that. You know, Rotino, Collins likes him just for games like this against a lefty.
Gives a right-handed bat.
And they don't have
a lot of right-handed bats. It's a big decision to be made.
And you know, Valdespin's had a great series, and with Murphy slumping, Terry's going to do a lot of thinking on the off day. Wright's in an 0-2 hole with one down. Jammed him. Flaherty on his horse, not going to get it. David Wright, a little bloop single, and the Mets have 2 on and 1 out.
Boy, it looks like the Orioles are just like stuck in not even neutral, first gear.
So now, chance for the Mets to add to their lead. They're up 1-0 on the RBI 2-out clutch hit by Mike Nickias in the fourth. Here's Scott Hairston. He got that going and scored the only run of the game with a leadoff double last inning. Tomahawked one into the left field corner. Mattis up at 80 pitches now. Excuse me, 82 pitches here in the fifth.
No, Mattis hasn't caught much of a break, though. He should be out of this inning. No fooling. Valdespin was out at first base. A safe call. And I don't know how David's ball can fall in.
I agree.
Someone's got to catch that.
Hardy just stopped running after it.
He's up there for a long time. Inside with the fastball, and Harrison up 2-0. And Hairston told me, I asked him, do you go up looking for home runs sometimes just with that big old hack? And he said, you know, I just go up looking to really make good contact, and I do go up there looking to lift the ball.
Yeah. Well, he was taught by his daddy to take a healthy hack, that's for sure.
His brother's having a great year in L.A. this year, too.
Although his dad was a different kind of player.
Dad was a middle infielder,
Yep.
left-hand hitter, if I remember correctly, and sprayed the ball all around. Line drive hitter.
Good defensive player.
Two-one to Hairston. And he lays off.
So you're in a little bit of trouble, and you want to throw a 2-1 changeup, huh? Well, now you're 3-1, runners on first and second, one out. What are you going to do?
If you're Mattis, you've got to think down. So if you're going to throw a fastball here, you got to concentrate on down. That's your best chance to get out of this inning.
Good pitch.
And good take by Scott Hairston. Nothing you can do with that pitch.
But unless you're looking out there,
yeah,
you know. Scott likes the ball middle in. That's outside corner knees. That's a good pitch. I'm actually surprised he took it.
Well, can he make it twice in a row?
Good speed on the bases for the Mets with Valdespin in right. And Hairston hammers one to left field. Flaherty is not going to get there. One hops over the wall. Valdespin scores. Here comes right. He will score. Scott Hairston has a 2-run double. 3-0 New York. And now they say that it did go indeed and hit the black portion of the wall, which will move one runner back. Ump's discretion.
It's the ground rule double.
Ground rule double.
You know, I thought it did initially, but they kept it going.
You got it right, Kev.
So it'll be 1 RBI on the double for Hairston, make it 2-0.
Now remember, this wall is behind that orange line that signifies a home run.
It doesn't look it on the shot
because of it's black.
Yeah. Well, nonetheless, big hit for Scott Hairston. He's had a couple of them tonight. 2-0 Mets, and runners on second and third with one down. A chance to really have a big inning.
Well, he should be in the clubhouse. I mean, in the dugout right now. I mean, 2 bad plays in the field behind him.
Meeting at the mound. Let's check in with Eamon McEnany.
Well, Kevin, as we're waiting for Vinny Rottino to come up here and hit with runners in scoring position, you guys were discussing the moves that Terry Collins might have to make in the near future. I asked Vinny before the game how cognizant he is of that, and when he gets a chance in the starting lineup, what's his approach? And he says, you know what, back in the past, he would take a chance like this and put too much pressure on himself, and it didn't work. Now he just goes out there and tries to have fun and, you know, really focus on just the task at hand, and we saw that in his last at-bat when he grounded out to second and moved the runner over to third. He says he doesn't try to think like he's auditioning for a job, just come through for the team as he's about to be intentionally walked here. But, you know, that was an interesting perspective where he doesn't think he has to go out there and earn his spot tonight.
And, you know, I mean, you bring up a good point, is Luis Ayala, the former Mets, warming in the pen. I think 2 different things, right? If you're Jordani Valdespin, guys, you're clearly trying to audition. But Vinny Rottino, I think, you know, he's been around. He's 32 years old. You know, Terry has seen things that he's liked from him. I guess for him, it's just being more comfortable in your own skin, knowing kind of what you can bring to the table, right?
Well, I think anybody that comes to the big leagues, has played in the minor leagues, wants to stay in the big leagues. And every time you're out there, it's an audition when you're young and trying to impress the manager. But Rottino does not want to go back to Buffalo. So he's going to go out there and do the best he can do every at-bat. Even if he goes in for defense, he's going to be on point.
But you can impress this manager by doing some of the smaller things.
Well, he did that earlier when he moved the runner to third base, going the other way. Here he gets the intentional walk. Why? Because you've got Ike Davis up against a lefty, and that's the matchup that Buck Showalter goes for here. Bases loaded. 2-0 Mets, 1 out. Ike Davis, who just hit a grand slam on Monday. So off the end of the bat, Hardy gets one, and a good slide. You talk about the little things. There you go. Takeout slide. Run comes in on the RBI ground out from Davis. 3-0 Mets.
No, this is off the end of the bat. They weren't going to turn 2 on anybody there. But nice hard slide by Rottino. And that's the 4th out the Mets have made in this inning, and Buck Showalter is going to come out and make a change.
Day's over for Brian Mattis as the Mets up 3 and still going here with 2 down in the home 5th inning. This call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon Fios Quantum. Introducing Verizon Fios Quantum Speed. Internet twice as fast as anything America has ever seen. Mets up 3. Still going when we come back. Pierce comes in the game, and he'll play left field. And here is this walk.
It's a tough thing when you're a manager, and Buck Showalter taking a kid out that really there was a play that should have been made. Val Despeen was out at first base. Come out and take the infielders out. Why take this kid out? He was plodding along. You can see that walk, though. That's a walk of a guy that's lost a little confidence because he wasn't given a shot to stay in there.
Well, you know what? They played poorly behind him in this inning. The Mets have had 4 outs this inning. They've got 2 runs in. The kid should have been in without any runs scored. Actually, a perfect 1-2-3 inning.
And not only that, as you see Luis Ayala come in, they asked him to get a ground ball with Ike Davis up. Ike Davis does hit a ground ball. Okay, they can't turn 2. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. Reward that.
Meanwhile, Justin Turner lays off, and he's got a 2-0 count. Mets up 3-0. Runners on the corners here. Scott Hairston had an RBI double, and then, as Ronnie just alluded to, Ike with the fielder's choice that got to run home. There you see Mattis. Turner had a big at bat his last time up, down 0-2. He drew a walk, and that allowed Mike Nickius to deliver a 2-out hit to get the Mets on the board. Here he's ahead 3-0 as Ayala can't find the strike zone.
You know, Luis Ayala had his best years in Washington, especially in 2005 when he was the main setup man for Chad Cordero. He's had some arm injuries and has moved along from team to team, the Yankees and now the Orioles.
3-0 to Turner's a strike, and of course he was in the Jerry Manuel bullpen in 08 that literally he just couldn't call on anybody to get an out down that final week of the season, and you know, it looked like Ayala was done for at that point.
Yeah,
but
that was the flip a coin bullpen, Kevin.
Well, that was the year you were there, Ronnie, right? In Washington,
yep,
doing TV there, and Frank Robinson was the manager.
Turner pops it up. Hardy calling, catching, and the inning is over. But the Mets put a 2 spot on the board, and Scott Hairston's having himself a nice night. He's got a couple of doubles, and this one drives in a run. 3-0 Mets through 5. Sunday, Jets running back Joe McKnight gives you an inside look at his life off the field. Plus, get a breakdown of key positions. The team gears up for camp on Jets Nation, presented by Melrose Credit Union. New episode Sunday at 7 only on SNY. Great shot, guys. Manhattan.
Ooh, Madison Square Garden there, right in the middle. 7th Avenue.
You got it.
Shockingly traffic.
Empire State Building.
Oh, there's Chrysler Building.
34th and 5th Avenue.
Dylan G is cruising. Dylan only had that one little hiccup in the third after the hit by Mattis, the pitcher. He lost control for about a batter and a half, but he came back and got in a groove. And Steve Pierce is the batter. Buck Showalter made a double switch last inning, so Pierce enters the game. As another first pitch strike. Now 15 of 18 for Dylan G on first pitch strikes tonight.
That's impressive. Really impressive.
And the Mets overall team scoreless streak is now at 27 innings. By the way, the club record 42. That's in September of 1969 when they made their push.
That great run. Wow. I wouldn't have thought that 3 straight shutouts would have been that recent.
That was the as the 1-2's outside. Dickey one-hitter against the Phillies. It was Takahashi in game 2 of all things. Game 3. Let's see if we get help on game 3. Pelfrey was game 3.
Pelf.
There you go. Big cut and a miss, and Dylan G has his 8th strikeout. One down here in the 6th. Let's check in with Chris Carlin for the Fujifilm game break.
Oh boy. Boy, oh boy. How about the Marlins? Are they just reeling?
And how about the year Ortiz is having? Good poppy. Wow.
Marlins right now are a disaster. They're 2-11 their last 13 games, and they just can't get out of their own way right now. Meanwhile, as Roberts bats, a couple things. Dylan G's got 8 Ks. You see the score. His career high 9 strikeouts. He did it this year against San Diego, so look at that. And then there's this. Hairston sets himself, makes a catch, 2 down. You look at this NL East. Mets are 3 back in the Nationals. Nationals right now have a 3-2 lead over Tampa Bay with Strasburg on the mound to check and see if he's still in the game. Yeah, he is. But the Mets can hold on here. You know, maybe get to even within 2 games. Is it too early to start looking at just where this team sits right now in this division?
Well, I don't. I wouldn't say it's too early. You always want to see where you fit in your division. You want to see how you play against good competition. The jury's still out. Reds and Yankees, maybe not so well. Tampa Bay and Baltimore, extremely well. So it's never too early to see how you match up against the teams that have the best record. And the Mets have been pretty good in 2 of those 4 series.
At this point right now, Kev, you just take it a day at a time. Yeah. This team has played really well all season long. Little stops and starts, but all in all, they played great. They're in the thick. At the time to reset to assess is the All-Star break. You look at the first half where you are. Now you get in the second half. Now you start separating the men from the boys.
The Nationals have lost 4 straight. Told you about the Marlins' futility. Phillies won last night against the Rockies. As there's a strike, and check out what the Phillies are doing today. Find out that score.
There's been one theme today for one theme of this series for the Orioles: the complaining about the strike zone.
5-5 Phillies and Rockies tonight. I look for it up on the board, but it's interleague, so everything's mishmashed up there. Hardy. It's a bat on it, but it's fouled straight back.
Davey Johnson used to always say to me, he said, the key to a season is you get to 10 over. Try to get to 10 over as quickly as you can, and then you make the push to 20. And then once you get to 20, in small increments, try to get, when you get to 30 over, then you're a championship kind of ball club with a chance.
G trying to tie a career high. He's got 2-2 to Hardy. Right at Turner. Dylan G is cruising. He's through 6 here at Citi Field. Mets up 3-zip on the Orioles. NY Super Slow Motion brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Great shots from that camera. Mets looking for the sweep tonight. One of the heroes so far, Mike Nickias, had a big 2-out single. Came off of Brian Mattis in the fourth. That gave the Mets a 1-0 lead, up 3-0 now. RBI double by Harrison and an RBI ground out by Ike Davis as Luis Sayala, his first full inning of work, deals a strike to Mike Nickias. But, you know, guys, we're talking about the division when we go to break there, and the Phillies trying to reset themselves and just hang in until they get some of their guys back, Halladay and Utley and Howard. And Nationals hit the skids a 4-game streak, trying to change that tonight. Nickias grounds out softly to first, 1 away. Marlins have just been awful. It's a close division. And then you have this. We look at the Phillies and Nationals, Phillies and the Rockies tonight in Philadelphia, tied at 5. How bad is the Rockies pitching? Maybe the worst they've ever had in their team history. So much so, they demoted Jeremy Guthrie to the bullpen, and Jim Tracy going with 4-man rotation, keeping each man on 75 pitches. Ronnie, how can that work?
Well, it can't work because you're going to have guys only going 4 or 5 innings, and the bullpen is going to be spent in about a month. That's a hard way to go. But, you know, Jim Tracy, and I really like Jim Tracy as a manager. He said, what can we do? No one can get more than 15, 16 outs. So that's what we're going to do. Try to go with these guys, add a guy in the bullpen, and hopefully that'll work.
G hits one deep to center. Jones on his horse. It's over his head. Dylan G motoring towards 2. He's got his second double of the year. Still going right for Dylan G.
Well, usually when a pitcher has a good hitting day, it usually means he's a Little League All-Star.
That's right. And he beats Jones, who's a heck of a center fielder. Was playing in, of course, to the pitcher, and
great shot.
Beat him to the track.
Hasn't exactly. I mean, Jones had no chance there, but it hasn't been the defensive film that Buck Showalter wants to show. That film, that ball dropping in left. You have the Betemit error. Back to the top of the order with Torres.
Every time I watch the highlights, Adam Jones jumping over the fence to steal a home run.
Yeah. Hasn't been their night defensively.
You know, getting back to the division, and the Marlins have been the big disappointment. The Phillies are playing terrible, but they're without their 2 big guns, and Utley and Ryan Howard. But I just don't think that's a good mix there down as far as chemistry in that ball club down there.
It's our first look at the wild card this year. Why not? Hey, the Braves won a big series. I mean, they were playing some bad baseball themselves. The Yankees won 10 in a row, and they took the last 2 at the stadium.
Let's start right now.
How about those Pirates, the Buccos? They're playing great under Clint Hurdle.
You look at the Pirates lineup. Does that make Andrew McCutchen the front runner for MVP right now, what he's doing with them? 1-1 to Torres. I mean, he's been simply on fire for that Pirate team.
And usually doesn't have a lot of people in front of him, right?
He's at 332 with 12 homers.
Well, you know, the thing about the Phillies, Keith, you mentioned they don't have their 2 big guns in Utley and Howard. But, you know, one of the reasons the Mets have the record they have is they have a pitcher, R.E. Dickey, who's 11-1. Well, Cliff Lee has no wins. You know, so you expect him to pick up his share of some victories and keep them close, and he's done nothing. And a lot of it is hard luck in the beginning, but it hasn't been hard luck lately.
No, he's given up some leads. I think it's almost gotten into his head now. And you haven't got Roy Halladay. He's on the DL.
What's going to be fascinating about that team, as you mentioned Lee, Ronnie, as 2-2's outside. Cole Hamels won his 10th last night. He's going to make an awful lot of money.
Yep.
Do you, if you're the Phillies, try and put Cliff Lee out there as trade bait? I mean, they're already pretty high on their salary right now. Or is Hamels a guy that's just not coming back?
Well, you got to have Hamels come back. I mean, he's just too young and too good to not. I mean, you know, the Phillies are in a place where they're selling out their ballpark every night.
Torres hacks one foul.
But one of the reasons you sell at your ballpark is you have your homegrown talent that stay there. Yeah. The Utleys, the Howards, and hopefully the Hamels. Now, they gave all that money to Cliff Lee. Of course, he's going to be attractive if the Phillies aren't in it. I don't think the Phillies going anywhere. I think at some point they're going to make a run, like an NBA run, that they're going to get back in it. But if they don't, Cliff Lee has proven that he can go anywhere late in the season and be your best pitcher in the postseason.
3-2 to Torres, and it goes way inside and past Wieters. G's going to try to go down to third, and he will get there. Ayala uncorked one.
That's a slider right here.
That's supposed to be a backdoor slider, and it misses about 5 feet on the other side of the plate.
Would lethargic be the proper term for the Orioles tonight?
They're sluggish, they're lethargic, and that's not usually the kind of things you see from a Buck Showalter team.
And they're going to play with 1 out, where earlier in the game, you recall, with Davis up, they had the infield in with a much tighter ball game. They're playing the infield back here, Ronnie. Back for 2.
Interesting they do that, considering Valdespin beat out an infield hit his last time.
Valdespin's tough to double up. I would tighten up that middle infield a little bit, bring it in just a tad.
And Torres is 2 for 4 stealing bases on the past 2, so the Mets will put him in motion.
Remember, it's not a foregone conclusion. If there's a one-hop bullet to Hardy or Roberts, and they don't think they can turn 2, you can always come home. The pitcher's running on third base. You know you don't have a lot of speed there. Or if you have to come in on a weak hit grounder.
Oh, Hardy just came in around 3 steps.
There you go.
Valdespin gets jammed, and Hardy will make the easy play.
Valdespin's got to run that ball out.
So now it's up to Wright.
Jammed him with a little cutter. And got in his pots and pans, and Valdespin wasn't even a quarter way down the line. And I'm sorry, you've got to run this ball out.
And Keith, you made a good point. You know why you have to run it out? He could let it drop and turn 2.
I don't care if you're Valdespin or you're David Wright. You got to run that ball out.
How does he run hard the last one and beat out an infield single, and then that one doesn't? That's odd. Wright's 2 for 2. He's got an 11-game hitting streak right now. It's the 3rd streak of 10 or more games hitting wise for Wright this year. 2 singles, a run scored, trying to get more on the board for the Mets, who lead it 3-0 as he takes strike 1.
You know, David against Ayala. Ayala wants to get David out of the way, preferably with a slider. This is a real opportunity for David to show his power to right or right center field. Well, it's a little show me pitch inside. Coming back in there, though.
He just missed. Keith, it seems that's been a pattern working against Wright, especially of late, as you noted in the broadcast this week, trying to work in on him.
Well, you know, everybody has their blind spots, or not their blind spots, their weak points. All good hitters like to extend their hands.
Wright does that here. Drives one in the gap to left center field. That's going to fall in for a base hit. Dylan G comes in to score. Torres flying around third. He will score. And hold on. That one went up and over 2. I think Torres is going to have to come on back. So for the 2nd time tonight, I think they're going to make a Met runner retreat back to the bases. But David will get an RBI double out of it as he drilled that one.
Well, you can see David's eyes right focused on the ball. They wanted to come in and look at the full extension of the arms. A mistake, and boy, he's on that. Nice swing.
Well, you'll see why it's a ground rule double here, Keith.
Yep.
Goes up against that fence. Good call by the third base umpire. Fan reached down, but it hit the gate that runs over the fence and behind the fence. So Torres will have to go back to third.
So it's an RBI double for Wright, his 39th RBI of the year. Scott Harrison's had himself a night. Couple of doubles, a run scored, run driven in. He's hit a couple baseballs pretty hard in the process. And now the Mets have a chance to really blow the doors off. 2 down, 2 on. This Mets team coming in .278 batting average with 2 outs and runners in scoring position, 2nd best in the major leagues. Hairston in an 0-2 hole.
Two-out runs, right, guys? Has that have been one of the themes, if you can think of the Mets offense this season?
It's really carried them. I mean, starting pitching and clutch hitting has been the name of the game for this team. Hairston down 0-2 here to Ayala.
Well, I tell you what, it's just been such a roller coaster, starting with that Yankee series where they got swept and they go down to Tampa and they sweep Tampa. They come home, they get swept by the Reds, and now they're on the verge of bouncing back and sweeping the Orioles.
The thing is, in the Yankee series, they could have won a couple of those games, you know.
After the Johan game, those next two games are definitely up for grabs. And they'll get a chance for a little revenge this weekend. Yankees here at Citi Field. Right now trying to finish off the Orioles. Hairston brushed back. 1-2 to Scott. Hairston's really had a tremendous overall season for this Mets team. Pinch hitting wise, he's been good. Couple of home runs there. 9 home runs overall. He's driven in 27 for a part-time player.
He's becoming more and more an everyday player, though, isn't he?
Sure is. Ayala's 1-2. Breaking ball misses outside, and he's been doing this tonight. Fighting back from in the 0-2 hole.
Well, this is a hit that could be a backbreaker and really put this game away for the Mets. 2-out hit, get a couple ribbies for Hairston, have himself a day.
And Hairston has come all the way back now. It's full. Especially the way G is going. And the Mets have had those hits in this series. Valdespin delivered a big 2-run single last night. Made it 5-0 rather than 3-0 late. Torres on third, Wright on second. 3-2 to Hairston with 2 down.
Well, that's what you're talking about, Keith.
Yeah, you can just see obviously when they get swept, they don't hit. That usually adds up.
Yeah, right.
So it's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Nieuwenhuis has come out on deck with Mattis, the lefty, out of the game. This inning keeps going. He'll hit for Rutino. 8th pitch of the at-bat to Hairston. 3-2. To center with Adam Jones waiting. And he'll put it away, and the inning is over. But the Mets tack on another as David Wright's 23rd double of the year drives in a run. Mets trying to blank the Orioles again. 4-zip. State. Discover what you love. Plan your vacation now. By New Era, the official on-field cap of Major League Baseball, and by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. Do not adjust your screens. That actually happened between innings.
Wow. What was it for?
It was for a Verizon ad.
You know, that's the first fireworks I've seen since I've taken a job as a broadcaster. Because usually when it's fireworks night, we get out of Dodge.
Yeah, no question.
Right?
That means everybody's staying and you're leaving.
That's right.
I've never seen the mid-game till now. Meanwhile, Dylan G is having himself a night as Mets make some changes. Scott Hairston goes from right to left, and Kirk Neuenhuis in, replacing Vinny Rottino in the order. He's in right field, though, as Chris Davis bats against Dylan G, who's limited. Pedro Strop warming for the Orioles. G's limited the Orioles to 1 hit. That hit by the opposing pitcher, Brian Mattis, in the 3rd inning. Big cut and a miss here. G also 8 strikeouts. His career high is 9. He's at 77 pitches. He's got 1 complete game in his career. That was May 25th of last year, but that was a 6-inning rain-shortened game.
I will tell you, though, any pitchers that's feeling it, you want to finish this if you're Dylan G.
Mets have allowed 7 hits this series. Right, we'll give it a look. See if he runs out of real estate. Comes back for it. Makes the catch.
That's what it must feel to try to catch a booming Ray Guy punt as the ball drifted on David.
Well, he just got a little bit, was concerned about the wall there. And there must be a little draft where he made the recovery.
Dylan likes that first out. He did it right, though. He's supposed to get to the wall, work your way back.
It's a long time ago.
57.
Jeez. Back in the days of Gus Triandos.
There you go. Good call.
G's retired 11 in a row as Adam Jones steps in and takes ball 1. Right now, the Mets as a team, 28 consecutive scoreless innings. Right on the backhand. 2 down.
Well, this is like an exercise in futility for this offense, this Baltimore offense, as they are just getting their lunch and making them like it.
7 hits in 3 games. What was the lunch, by the way?
You don't want to know.
Apparently not. Domination by the Mets pitching staff as G with 2 outs works to Matt Wieters, who's 0 for 2. Switch hitting catcher. Valdez-Bean playing way back there in right. Pats the glove. Another 1-2-3 inning for Dylan G. Cruising here at Citi Field. Quantum, a revolution in internet speed, is here with download speeds up to 300 megabits per second. To learn more, visit Verizon Fios on your Facebook or dial ** speed on your Verizon smartphone. Tomorrow, SNY honors the greatest players to ever wear a Mets uniform. See the very best at each position from the past 50 seasons come together for the unveiling of the Mets all-time team presented by Citi. It's tomorrow night at 7, only on SNY. And Keith, you were there.
Yep.
It was some great storytelling, a great night, so tune in.
It's a good shot of you there. You're pretty quick in that inside cheese, weren't you?
But I was looking in.
26-year-old Pedro Strop, third pitcher of the night for Buck Showalter.
You know, he's thrown well for them. He's had a 13-game scoreless streak for them. He's been outstanding in his last 21 games.
You know, Kirk Neuenhuis, who was double switched, or excuse me, just came in for Rotino last inning. And Neuenhuis will get his first at-bat of the day. Sat out with the lefty starter Mattis. Neuenhuis, 286 on the year. He says 64 hits since getting called up. Second among rookies in the National League. Speaking of rookies, see what Mark Trumbo's doing in Anaheim? He is now second in the American League with a .337 batting average. He leads the league in stolen bases with 19. The guy got called up in May. Just amazing. All the talk on the East Coast, obviously with Bryce Harper, but Trout been incredible as Jeremy Hefner starts warming in the Mets pen. One and two to Neuenhuis. Well, Dylan G has got a one-hitter working. He's got 8 strikeouts, 1 off his career high. Maybe the Mets will just throw one-hitters every game. I mean, maybe that's what's to come. It seems like that's been happening.
You always have to check your monitor, though, because Dylan G, with all the different facial hair looks, he's like the man of 1,000 faces.
And Neuenhuis down swinging. 97 miles an hour on the fastball, and 1 down here in the 7th.
You can see why he's been throwing so good. Piece of cheese on that outside part. Nice movement from Strop. Two-seamer. And when you throw a fastball like that, it's going to tend to move away from the left-hander and beats Neuenhuis.
Now then I bring up Mike Davis. Davis had an RBI on the fielder's choice his last time up. 0 for 3 with a strikeout. Now gets to face a righty, though. His previous 3 at-bats were against the lefty Brian Mattis. Davis very aggressive, swinging at the first pitch all season long. How about this from our friends at Elias as we will monitor G and see if he could finish this out, fellas. 10 times this year and 8 times in the last 23 games, a Mets starter has got the win and not allowed a run.
Wow.
That's some number. G trying to make it 9 times in the last 24 games. Davis takes low. It's 2-1.
Well, you never want to bother a pitcher in the middle of a game. Let him just sit there. He's out there in every pitch of the game out there when you're out there in the field. Just leave them alone in their own thoughts.
And what you're thinking about over there is, okay, catching my breath. Who do I got up next? Nick Johnson. How did I pitch him the first 2 times up? How am I going to get him out this next time? I got to get the first hitter out. Make sure I get him out and then make the inning a little easier. All of those things are going through your head.
2-2 to Davis, and he lays off 3-2 from Pedro Strop. Three-2 on the way, and Q shot back to Strop. Davis retired, 2 away. Guys, you look at G. So go out and work the 8th. He's only at 82 pitches.
Yeah.
And this one is well within reach for him.
Well, it's 82 pitches because he's been, we gave the number before, you gave 15 out of 18 at the time. First pitch strikes, that is the key for Dylan. And when you have that many strikes early, it shows how much confidence you have in your stuff. Jeremy Hefner, we showed you a shot of him getting up. I don't know if he's getting up to get loose or more so to get some work in because he hasn't thrown in a few days.
Yeah, he worked 5 days ago against the Reds. So
yeah, he's the long man, so he's probably just getting up to work on some things.
That's a question I have for you.
Yeah.
You got a pitching coach. If you got someone in the bullpen that is struggling, and they're pitching, how do you go out, Ronnie, as a pitching coach when you don't want to wear their arms out?
Yeah.
But it's not like a starter every 5th day. How do you work on something to get them out of their slump, their pitching slump?
Well, that's an interesting question. Strope with the quick pitch there if you watch. Keith, the only way you can do it is Danny Worthen's got to go to Terry Collins and say, listen, can you please stay away from Hefner today? I'm going to take him out in the bullpen for the game, and we're going to work 15, 20 minutes on his breaking ball. So try to stay away from him. We're not going to overdo it. If we get to extra innings or you need a guy late, of course, he'll be ready to go. But I'd like to work with him in the bullpen. That's how you can do it.
Sorry, Keith, go ahead.
Sorry, and we're using Hefner as an example.
Yeah.
So, okay, I hear you loud and clear.
But for the bullpen guys, it's really tough. They're going to be used every day. They kind of got to work on it on their own.
Another cue shot, this time off of Turner's bat, and Johnson corrals, makes the play despite the spin move. Mets down in order, but it's Dylan G's show. Is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz Tri-State Dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. And that camera is awesome.
I just love it.
And all the shots that Phil Webb has brought you tonight of that. Just love the release of the pitch.
Yeah.
So cool. Here's Dylan G working on a one-hitter. Nick Johnson leading off the 8th, 4-0 Mets. And Johnson squares the bunt, but it goes foul. How about that?
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You're down 4-0. You haven't done anything all game. You need some base runners. David's playing back. I don't see anything wrong with that. You're hitting a $195. Do something.
The Mets, in the last 19 games, that includes tonight, are seeking their 4th game, allowing 1 hit or less. Think about that. That's 4 games in 19, 1 hit or less.
It's unprecedented.
Jim Johnson, the closer, getting up. Haven't seen him this series. I suppose the Orioles haven't had a lead. 0-2 to Johnson. Fastball high and tight. Here's the lines. I don't know if you could do better.
Wow. I'll take it. I mean, this is the point where, as a manager, if you get out of Dodge here and you get shut out again, it's like, guys, we're playing tomorrow, no BP.
Gets by G. Valdespin was playing in the outfield. Long run, and it can't get there. It goes by Davis. The railing saves it. And that's the second hit of the night. Valdespin was in right field, very deep. Had a long way to come on that slow roller.
Well, that's the one ball that we have not seen hit against the Mets a lot, Keith. It's that slow grounder.
You can see Valdespin by the SNY logo there. And that's probably what got in the way. That's why he couldn't make that play. Obstructed him.
It was spiked 1-2 on Ike Davis. Dylan G's got, if he doesn't make that play, no one makes that play. That'd be a base hit too, Kevin.
So there goes the one hitter. That logo's getting in everybody's way all the time. So Johnson on first, who does not run well. That'll bring up Wilson Bettamy. He's 0 for 2. Also made an error in the field. G's got 8 strikeouts. His career high is 9. And see, pitch count is still more than reasonable. 86 in the 8th. Earlier today, also in New York, Braves took 2 of 3 from the Yankees in a game that featured 9 home runs in the Bronx. Braves hit 5 of them. Jason Hayward hit 2 of them. 10-5 Atlanta. Yankees had won 10 in a row, so they cool off a little bit before they come to Citi Field.
You know what's interesting? It's hard to even criticize anything that Dylan's doing. As you see Mark Reynolds on deck. But the only time his ball's been up in the strike zone he hasn't had control is when he had to go in the stretch. Maddox got the base hit, he lost the strike zone. Here the ball's a little up in the strike zone after Johnson gets on.
Now, why is that? As Parnell warms up, is obviously things change a little bit, but also he hasn't had to work from the stretch at all.
That's part of it, and I think he's just in such a groove from his windup that it's hard to have the same groove from the stretch. That'll be something to think about.
2-1 to Bettamy. Big cut and a miss. Dylan's had the off speed working tonight. Mark Reynolds has come out to hit on deck. 2-2. Nickies couldn't hold on the tip. Strasburg tonight, by the way, for the Nationals, 7 innings, 10 strikeouts for him as he's looking for his 9th win. 3-2 Washington in the 8th. As the Mets try to close it to 2 games in the NL East. Again, G's got a 2-2. Bettamy hits one deep to right. This one is way back and gone. 2-run home run for Wilson Bettamy, and the Orioles are on the board for the first time this series. And now you've got a game. It's 4-2 Mets.
Well, that's all that this team tries to do. They're all low left-hand hitters. They're all low ball hitters. They all got lip swings. And there he got a fastball out over the plate, mid-thigh, right in his wheelhouse. So they live and die by the home run, this ball club. And they're at a big ballpark here at Citi, and that's why they're dying. I mean, they're back in the hunt here, but they're in jeopardy of getting swept. That's just right down the pipe.
On to the Pepsi porch. Steve Tollefson will be the pinch hitter for the Orioles. Now, they had Reynolds on deck, but you figure Reynolds is such a power guy. You save him maybe for the 9th if you get a guy on.
Correct. And I like the fact they're leaving Dylan in here to finish the inning. I like it.
Tollefson, by the way, in the 8th spot on the order, but this is the pitcher spot for Showalter double switch Pierce into the game. G has been magnificent tonight. Had a 1-hitter into the 8th. first speed bump, but it's a 2-run game now. Orioles, as down on strikes goes Tollefson. That's number 9 for G. That ties his career high.
Good breaking ball out of the strike zone. Went fishing. Hey, the hitters are going to allow the pitcher to expand the strike zone. You can't hit that.
G, who had 9 strikeouts against the Padres earlier this year, ties his career high with 9 and rebounds so far nicely after the homer. Here's Pierce, second at bats. He struck out after coming into the game in the 6th. So that home run by Betemit ended a stretch of 29 scoreless innings by the Mets pitching staff.
Very nicely done. For Dylan G, though, you got to be thinking to yourself, let me get through this inning somehow, some way, so I can hand the ball to Francisco.
1-1 to Pierce. And Terry Collins today asked about the bullpen. He had Parnell and Batista and Roush last night. I asked him, does he plan on that? Is that maybe something he's going to go to now? Batista late. He said right now Frankie is the closer. Everything else, we're going to put the right guy in the right situation.
Yeah. Well, all hands on deck, so always be ready. I think he was addressing that. A lot of relievers like to know their role. Well, Francisco has a role, no one else does.
Meanwhile, 3-1 falling behind Pierce, and fastball misses, ball 4. And I would think that would be it for Dylan G. It is. Just a second walk of the night for G, who was terrific tonight. G's night is done. Parnell will come on in for the Mets, who's got the 4-2 lead over the O's. Hit a little bit of a wall, yielding the 2-run home run to Wilson Betemit in the 8th. Took a 1-hitter into the 8th. And a real hot evening. 100 pitches for G. 2 walks, runner on first. That belongs to him. Now it's Parnell with 1 out. Top of the order, Roberts turns around from the left side and takes strike 1.
Well, Parnell was very impressive in last night's game, pitching that seamless 7th inning with a strikeout.
he's coming in to get big outs here. This is the tying run at the plate. It's big 2 outs in this ball game.
Brian Roberts, since coming back from the 13-month layoff with the concussions, 4 RBIs, no extra base hits. Parnell's got him 0-2. Nicky smothers that one. Pierce the runner on first. And J.J. Hardy on deck. And remember, the one thing about this Orioles team is they do hit home runs. So 2-run game, anything's dangerous with this club. 3rd in the American League in home runs coming in. Parnell's got a 1-2 to Roberts. And he slices it by right, base hit. Hairston will cut it off, but now the Orioles have the tying runs on here in the 8th. And now you come to the meat of the order.
Pretty good hitting right here. Backdoor slider. He stays right with it. Got too much of the plate. Came back over the middle.
You can see that index finger with the knuckle, making that knuckle curve. Tried to go back door, but kind of a lazy break on that.
Very good, Ronnie. Absolutely right. If he got it on the outside corner, it's a good pitch. But it started on the outside corner. It starts as a strike to the hitter, and then it breaks over the middle. Nice hitting.
Mets will play for 2. J.J. Hardy's 0 for 3. Keep in mind, he's grounded into 12 double plays this year. That leads the American League. Mets would love that here with 1 down, a 2-run lead, but the Orioles with 2 on here in the 8th.
It's also got 11 bombs too, so all or nothing for Hardy.
And fastball misses away to Hardy.
You know, we've remarked this whole series the odd hand positioning of Hardy. You know, can you get him? You think you can get him inside? Well, you remember Musial, right? With that weird stance, they thought they could pitch him inside. I'm not saying he's Stan Musial. I don't think he went, and a good call there. But you know, Hardy's a guy that's got pop. Hit 30 home runs last year.
Chris Davis has plenty of pop too. He's got 12 home runs waiting on deck. Two-one.
Boy, it's amazing, isn't it? This game, you're flying along. It looks like it's going to be an easy game, and the next thing you know, the game starts smelling a little funny, doesn't it?
A 4-run lead is not a blowout. It's not safe.
It's a threat of a home run too with a team that hits a lot of them. G hoping Parnell can get him through. 2-2. 99, but he missed it away. Look at that. This would seem to be a good matchup. 315 against High Cheddar.
He's a high ball, fastball hitter. You have to think that's what he's going to get here. 3-2.
A little tapper.
Did it hit out of the
got him? It hit Hardy out of the box.
Well, not only hit him out of the box, but the ball was in fair territory, I believe, when he ran into it.
Boy, I tell you what, it's going to get an argument here. We'll take a look at it. If it doesn't, it hit his bat. Was he out of the box?
He was not out.
He was not out of the box.
He was not out. Watch. His foot's still in. Hit it right there.
Nope, he's in the box.
Let's see if it was fair. Hard to tell there.
If it stays fair, they might turn 2.
Buck Showalter
Well, Buck's telling him he was in the box, so get some help. Ask the other umpires if he was in the box and change the call. Not to be.
Another angle. Right there.
He's in the box.
Yeah. Clearly in the box.
Clearly in the box.
So the Mets maybe get a break. Ronnie, you're the point. Maybe they turn 2 there, but they call him out of the box and give the put out to Nikias. Still the tying runs on base, and Parnell needs another out, even with that call. And Chris Davis got a lot of power. Terry leaving Parnell in to face Davis, not going with Burdack here. High fastball, 1-0. Steve Pearce, the runner on second. Roberts has good speed on first. And Pearce has a decent gap in right center field, too.
Oh, high fastball. I'll tell you what, you can just, Davis has got a swing very much like Betamit. And oh my goodness, here it comes. We're breaking it out.
Bobby Parnell, today's Cholula hot sauce flamethrower. Just hit 97. 1-1 upstairs, and he lays off that one.
Big lift swing from Davis, just like Betamit, and you can pitch him upstairs.
One thing I would stay away from, we see Jim Johnson still getting loose for the Birds, is that breaking ball to Johnson. Stay away from that pitch.
2-1. Tying runs aboard here in the 8th. And Parnell just going heat here, Ron.
Well, the last time out, Ronnie, for that clean inning he had in Santana's performance last night, he was throwing 97 too. He was throwing bullets.
Yeah.
So this is 2 in a row for him.
He had seemed to dial it back a little bit to get better control. Not now. Just simply trying to blow it by Davis. See if they go high fastball again. 2-2 the count, 2 down. Tying runs aboard. Davis lets one deep to left. Hairston backpedaling, has room, makes the catch. Dylan G breathes a sigh of relief as Hairston hauls it in. And Parnell comes in and stops the bleeding. Mets lead it by 2 going to the bottom of the 8th. Who got an at bat into the game in left field. Steve Pearce, who was in left, moves to right as Davis, who just missed a home run off Parnell, is out. And the Orioles closer, Jim Johnson, comes to try to hold it at a 2-run game here in the home 8th inning.
Well, these numbers are filthy. 20 out of 21 saves, only 15 hits, and almost 30 innings pitched. Not a big strikeout guy. He's a guy that when he comes in, he's not going to blow you away by striking you out. He's a guy whose ball really sinks. He's got 4 pitches out there. He's like having a good starting pitcher pitch an inning at a time.
Bobby Parnell came in and helped Dylan G get out of a jam, but it wasn't easy. Brian Roberts got a base hit off him, and then Chris Davis lifted one to deep left, but Hairston had a little room and made the catch and averted a 3-run home run.
In Baltimore, Kev, that's a home run. But hang with them. You're in New York.
Check out the replay, though, because obviously look at a couple things. First of all, Hairston getting back and in position. Davis didn't miss giving the Orioles the lead by much. And how about Parnell?
Well, come on, Bob. You're all right. Good job.
Got a reprieve from the governor, though.
Well, Tappers, tough play. Betamit.
Nice.
Oh, makes it.
Wow.
Betamit hasn't had the best game defensively, but that was a beauty. Let's go to Chris Carlin, the Fujifilm game break. Chris. All right, Chris, thanks very much. So the Mets trying to keep pace and stay 3 games back. Here's Daniel Murphy, who's growing the stash, trying to get some hits.
We'll see if it works.
Murph out of 2 of the 3 games of this series because he's been cool and Valdespin's been hot.
I've never seen Murph with a brush before. The brush.
Did he consult you on that? Was there any phone call just to ask advice? Out of room?
No.
Hospital for Special Surgery presents the Mets box score tonight. David Wright, ho-hum, 3 more hits for him. Double RBI. Scott Harrison's hit a couple of bullet doubles. See the night that he has. Mike Nicky has hit a big RBI. And then G, not only on the mound with a terrific performance, but the double and the run. Mets trying to hang on and sweep the Orioles out of town. 4-2 lead, home 8th. Murphy takes a heater on the inside corner. Jim Johnson, 20 saves at second in the American League behind Chris Perez, who's had outstanding year for the Indians. 22 saves for him.
As long as he's not talking about the fans, he's doing fine. Perez came out earlier this year and criticized the crowds at the ballpark in Cleveland. That's a lose situation for a player.
It's not going to be good if it ever goes bad for Chris Perez. 2-2 to Murphy, puts it in play, and Betamit. It's 2 nice defensive plays in a row. 2 down in the home 8th. Next broadcast on SNY will be Monday night from Chicago. Mets and Cubs. Of course, the Subway Series over the weekend. Had a game on picks and then a couple national games. Mets and Cubs there. Is that Santana's game, I believe, right?
Nice.
In Wrigley, Cubs have been deplorable this year for the most part. Got a couple guys that can hit. Brian LaHare's had a good year. Starlin Castro.
LaHare's had a great year.
Great year. And he just moved to right field.
Yeah, career minor leaguer that finally got his shot.
Their best pitcher, Ryan Dempster, who had been outstanding, is on the DL right now. The Mets won't see him. Cubs will be one of those teams that teams will be looking for trade bait around the deadline. I think they got some guys, especially Garza and Dempster. Torres to left, right at Tolleson. Mets done in the 8th. Mets try to hold on and sweep the Orioles. Top 9. Here we come when we return. Sports Nights after post game only on SNY. Steve Nash to the Knicks. Well, D'Antoni's not there anymore, but who knows? And then Dunlap goes from St. John's to the Charlotte Bobcats. Plax sets his sights on his next team. Plaxico Burris, I suppose.
Does the next team know that?
Probably not. Maybe they're finding out on Geico Sports Night, Ronnie. Frank in the game for the Mets, trying to close it out.
Well, 16 out of the 19 saves. 16 saves puts him 5th in the National League and has been unscored upon his last 3 outings.
16 for 19 in save opportunities for Francisco. And he starts it off with Adam Jones with the Mets with a 4-2 lead here in the ninth. Dylan G, 7 1/3, 9 strikeouts, 2 runs, 3 hits. Took a 1-hitter into the 8th. Parnell got out of a jam. And now it's up to Francisco as the Mets go for the sweep. Jones takes a strike, 95 miles an hour. Jones 0 for 3 tonight. He's had a quiet series. Had the error in the field earlier, which did not cost them. It's Francisco trying to slam the door.
That's some paint. Yes, sir. Whew.
Matt Wieters on deck. Oh, 2. Jones stays alive. For Dylan G, that's his 7th straight quality start. And he has been pitching well, and the Mets haven't been able to take advantage, so they're trying to do just the opposite tonight.
Well, Dylan G is poised to even out his record at 5-5. Ben can close. Frankie can close it.
Right charging and firing, 1 down. Let's check in with Chris and Bobby, the W. Mason post-game live. See what's coming up there, guys.
Ronnie, you were subbing for Bobby. You gave him a couple days off.
Yeah. Bobby spent some time down the shore. Back in there, though, for the big series here and then Friday night.
Here's Wieters against Francisco. How did that giant TV screen treat you in the studio?
Yeah,
different this year.
The ozone. Yeah, I'm not worthy of that thing. We'll let Bobby O take care of that. I just try to stay out of the way for the couple days I'm in there.
Oh, it's good to have you here at the ballpark. As the 0-1 to Wieters, and now he's in the 0-2 hole.
Dave Mandel and the crew over there in the studio, just outstanding.
Nick Johnson's on deck. And that's a base hit for Wieters as he'll lumber on down to first base, and that'll bring up the tying run.
Interesting how Francisco went after the right-hand hitting Jones with Cheddar and basically went to the splitter to the left-hand hitting Wieters.
Elvin Ramirez warming.
How about that?
How about action in the pen? Well, you talked about Hefner just warming. Is that just warming, or is that just in case?
I think that's getting some work in. I think since Francisco's been throwing the way he's thrown, these are his games.
Well, Nick Johnson got it started for the Orioles, who were being one hit. He singled, came home on the Bettamy 2-run home run. He's got 4 homers on the year. Francisco's got to be careful. And the 95-mile-an-hour fastball is high and tight. Bettamy, who hit that 2-run home run, looms on deck.
Splitter. Good one. You got to be careful with that splitter. If you leave it out over the middle and down, a left-hand hitter, if they wait, it's something they can pull and lift out of here.
Boy, you like it right on those seams. That one, though, the splitter up in the strike zone is usually not your friend.
That wasn't a splitter. That was flat out gas. And it's 1-2 to Johnson.
Well, Francisco has been throwing very hard. Oh, he just beat him inside.
That flat splitter is what he's got to stay away from Johnson. He's a good low ball hitter.
I agree.
1-2 to Johnson. I'll move him back 96 miles an hour. You know, Ronnie, with that pitch, you know, obviously, you know, is that the type of thing where you throw 1 or 2 and you know maybe it's there, or can you throw like a knuckleball, one bad one and one really good one next?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Every time as you see this fastball that was in, which could set up a split finger in the dirt if he wanted to here, away.
Johnson hangs in.
Now, you have to have the confidence, Kevin, that you're not going to throw it perfect every time, whether you're a curveballer, a slider thrower, or a forkballer. You're not going to throw it perfect every time. But every time you throw it bad, it should click in and go, boy, thank God I got that one back. Now I know how to make the adjustment off that last bad one.
Francisco trying for his 17th save. Get the Mets their 38th win of the year. 2-2 to Nick Johnson. And he's hanging in. Fights off 97 on the inside portion. Mets in this game got on the board Mike Nickias with an RBI 2-out variety in the 4th. And then Mets really got the bats going. Scott Hairston had the big double in the 5th. And David Wright an RBI double in the 6th. For your scoring tonight, at least from the Mets side. Again a 2-2. Hit sharply, and it gets under the glove of Davis. Ike could not get the leather on it, and now the Orioles have the tying runs aboard with 1 down, and Bedemeter just homered his last at bat coming up.
Well, we know that Terry Collins is not. He's guarding the line there, and that cost him. But I agree, you got to guard the line.
You know what you got to like? Wieters is the guy that got in between that baseball, kind of had to go between his legs and shielded like a person in front of the crease would to a goalie. That might be one of the reasons it's got by Ike Davis at first base.
I get a pinch runner now. Robert Andino will check into the game for Johnson. He's the tying run. Wieters on second has no speed, but Andino can run the tying run at first. So if you get a double, he could absolutely tie it. Bedemeter homered, a 2-run shot off Dylan G his last at bat. So Francisco's got his work cut out. 1 out. 4-2 Mets in the 9th. Go back to the 8th.
No.
That was a no-doubter, Pepsi Porch style.
Oh, beat him inside.
Oh, and that one got Mike Nickias. He's hurt.
You see the umpire holding up Nickias. He knew right away that it got him.
Oh, yes.
Right in the side of the mask. Maybe underneath. Wow. These catches are tough.
That just loosened his jaw a little bit.
Yeah, it looked like he said jaw. It could be a lip reader for a moment. But yeah.
That was pretty classy by the home plate umpire, just holding Nickias up there in his time of need.
Tim Timmons and Nickias toughing it out, going to stay in.
Only the home plate umpires, they can understand.
Mark Reynolds is out on deck for the Orioles, and he's an all or nothing guy, but obviously has a ton of pop. Perfectly paints the corner at 96, and it's 1-2.
These are the big calls in a game, right, Keith? 1-1 pitch.
Got it right there. That was a borderline.
just gets a piece.
We've seen Frank go with just his fastball and his split finger. They're always imploring him to use his breaking ball every once in a while, but has not chosen to do so tonight.
Francisco steps off. Again, the 1-2. And again, Betemit hangs in there. Approaching 10 o'clock on the East Coast. We welcome you to Citi Field, where the Mets trying to sweep the Orioles alongside Keith Hernandez and Ron Darling. I'm Kevin Burkhardt tonight. Eric Cohen has a couple of well-deserved days off for his son's graduation.
2 split fingers in the dirt. You want a high fastball here, above the letters.
Upstairs.
Betemit hanging in.
It's quite a little battle here.
Yeah. Well, remember these Baltimore hitters. Most of them have a lot of track record with Francisco. It was with the Blue Jays last season in the American League East.
He's hanging in there, isn't he? Fought off some pretty good splitters that are down in the zone and away. Just getting a piece, staying alive.
It's amazing how for 7 innings this team looked completely lifeless. 1 hit, and then you get a home run, and all of a sudden Bats wake up a little bit. They've had 5 hits since.
Yeah, and they're 1 swing away from trying to steal this game from the Mets.
Francisco having trouble putting Betemit away. Pops him up. Davis makes the play, and there's 2 down.
Oh, nice battle there. Nice at bat by Betemit. Francisco a bit better.
Nice job by Francisco. The game on the line, and I threw some nice wicked splitters. Kept it down.
Francisco's already at 22 pitches. Here's this last grip.
See that arm is pronated, and then he just flicks it, pulls down with the 2 fingers, and flicks over the arm with the thumb to get that ball to go down.
Had him out in front.
And of course, this guy's got to be up, who knows a little bit about this ballpark.
Huh. Yeah. Mark Reynolds, who had 4 home runs here in a 3-game series for Arizona. The inaugural year at Citi Field. He's got 5 home runs this year. He also strikes out a ton. 2 down, tying runs on for the Orioles in the 9th, and he takes strike 1. Reynolds 163 career home runs, had home run years of 44, 32, and 33. Francisco trying to slam the door. Robert Aradino, the runner on first. Pinch runner. Wieters on second. Chavez, the old friend, who's hurt with a hamstring injury right now. Looking on. 1-1. Fastball high. And it's 2-1. Francisco's pitch count is getting up there now. 25 pitches in this inning. Francisco's 2-1. And it gets by Nickias, and now the tying runs are in scoring position. That is a big wild pitch by Francisco.
Well, that'll keep you in the roulette jar. Nothing Nickias can do right there. That's just a tough chance.
I mean, that's 4 or 5 feet outside. He tried to get in front of it, knew he couldn't at the last minute, flipped over his glove to see if he could backhand it.
So now with Andino's speed, a single ties the game. Harrison's pretty shallow and left with Reynolds' power, but he knows a single can tie it here. 3-1 to Mark Reynolds. 2 down in the 9th. And he walks him, and the bases are loaded. And Dan Worthen's going to come out and talk, and there's a couple of issues here. You've got the tying run at second base. Francisco's pitch count's at 27 now. Is that an issue?
Day off tomorrow, Kevin.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter if it wasn't a day off.
Exactly. Let's go.
He's either going to give this game up or make it a tie. He's finishing the inning one way or the other. He's your man.
Terry tried in Toronto where he sat. Maybe he should go sit down right now. But there's going to be someone getting up.
Ricky Bonas, the bullpen coach, has answered the phone, and Miguel Batista going to get up.
And you're right, Keith. He's in there, but if the Orioles were to tie the game, then maybe you make a change.
Right.
Steve Pearce, 1 home run on the year, 275 hitter. Bases loaded. Mets by 2 in the 9th, and that misses. Francisco probably not pleased.
He shouldn't give any lip to Tim Timmons. That ball was a ball just off the plate. Close pitch, but Timmons has been good behind the plate.
And that's outside. Boy, oh boy, a game the Mets were absolutely cruising with Dylan G at the controls. Benamed hits a 2-run homer in the 8th. Chris Davis just misses a 3-run homer in the 8th. Now walking on the tightrope.
Oh boy, and he's tightening up a little bit, Ron.
Yep, aiming the baseball.
I think if he walks this guy on 4 pitches or just walks him, I think Batista's going to come in.
The problem with Batista, though, is that he has his own, but he has his own issues with control.
And the big problem is Brian Roberts is a terrific contact hitter on deck. With a single needed, he'd rather go after Pearce, who's more prone to strike out. But Francisco's behind 3-0. Low ball 4. Francisco walks a running, and it's 4-3 New York.
Oh boy, that'll get you nervy.
Terry Collins has taken out Francisco in a closing spot before. Pacing, thinking whether to do the same here, but it doesn't appear he will.
So, you've already made a trip to the mound. You can't go out again unless you're going to pull him. So he's on his own. Francisco.
Roberts had a terrific at-bat singling on Pornell in the 8th, but was left on the bases. Here we go. 2 outs. There's a strike.
Roberts only 1 for 2 off Francisco in his career.
That's trying to hang on. 4-3. Valdespin gobbles it up on to first, and the ball game's over. And the Mets hold on and sweep the Orioles 4-3. Oh, it wasn't easy, but the Mets will take it. Francisco earns his 17th save. Dylan G evens his record at 5-5, and the Mets sweep the Orioles to go 6 games over 500.
Well, the key to this series was the starting pitching of the Mets of Dickey, Santana, and G. And the top of the order for Baltimore, Brian Roberts 1 for 11 in the series. J.J. Hardy 1 for 12 in the series. Adam Jones 1 for 11 in the series.
And the Mets getting the 3 of their 4